Starting again, another stream. Feels so casual now that we've finished Zelda. No huge games for a while. Well, not for too long. Still have the very looming... Oh, the video ended for me. Well, still have the very looming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that's around, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, just gonna crank out some random games and see what happens there. Ooh, I should probably charge my phone before we start there. But yeah, I think we're gonna start again, like similarly to last time, with a visual novel, just because they're there. So we're gonna do it. But yeah, just give me a sec. To get the game. I know it runs, so it shouldn't take. Come on, pop in. I know you can. There you go. I think the music is a bit louder than I want it. Oh, we can turn it up a little bit. Okay, oh. Return. I forget what this was. I think this is just another queer visual novel thing. We're gonna do our best with it. And see how far it goes. I don't know. Content warning, mature content, language, alcohol, situation, mild sexual content. Okay. Mature audience, play discussion is vibed. Okay. Every time I start these things, I'm just like, I really hope that nobody's a dick enough to just like just be like, oh, by the way, there's porn in here. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get like demonetized. Ashlyn Phillips. What are we doing? We got normal hairstyles. Let's... I can't do my eyes? I have to look like this? Ashlyn... I don't really like... Actually, you know what? We'll keep it. We'll keep it, because I don't think I can come up with a better name at this very moment. So we'll just do that. It was a tiny place, much smaller than our house had been, but we wouldn't die here if power went out during a dust storm. Ashlyn, can you help me with this? Why does mom get like normal clothes, but I literally look like a hobo? Like, I don't know. Sure, just let me change out of these rags first. Okay, there we go. Okay, nice. I changed quickly, and then I rushed over to open the tub with our very limited possessions inside. We had to leave a lot behind to come here. They had informed us of the limited space. My mother sighed and started to lift things carefully out of the box and place them on the various shelves that were provided. I miss all of our things already. I miss them too. We should try to stay positive. Mom sighed again and I just shook her head. I suppose. Mom stood up and started organizing everything into an appropriate spot. I went to our new beds and began to lay out the provided linens. The fabric was very soft and free of sand. I almost felt bad touching it. We had a bathroom, kitchen area, and separate beds. There was also a hinged table that could be pulled up from the wall and small chairs that could be tucked away. On by the wall with a metallic intercom system with a tiny speaker over there. And that's the table that can go up the wall and chairs that can be tucked away. The floor was hard and made of vinyl that roughly resembled wood. I had stared at the shower for a while before realizing what it was. I showed Mom, and we both watched the water fall from the ceiling as we twisted the knobs. It was incredible. I'm guessing it's this one. There were even fake windows by the bed, featuring paintings of incredible landscapes with green trees and water, something I'd only ever seen in books. Aw, man. It was small, and it wouldn't provide a lot of privacy, but it was safe. It was home. The crackle of the intercom made me jump. I looked at Mom, and we both looked at the small speaker. The voice was understandable despite the static. In 1 hour, I need all new citizens to come to the community center for orientation. I hope you all found your accommodations comfortable and efficient. If anyone has any questions or concerns, please remember that we are always here for you. There was a pop and the noise stopped. I started to look over the map that had been in the welcome basket on the table. The layout was simple, but I'd probably still get lost. I was used to wide open spaces, and here there were tunnels and paths all over the place. Study the map. I studied the various hallways and tunnels that connected us in this odd underground city. I narrowed my eyes and tried to will my mind to memorize the lines and words. However, my vision started to blur with the effort. I blinked and decided to try focusing on the path from our residence to the community center. Do you think that would be signs pointing where to go? Probably. There were some that led us here after we got inside. Before I could respond, there was a loud buzz. Apparently, the little intercom also notified us when someone was at the door. Mom glided over to slide back the latch and pull it open. I began to reach for a weapon, but then I remembered that they had been confiscated. Intruder. Hey guys, we're just checking in with the newcomers and introducing ourselves. A tall woman with short black hair and an attractive smirk sauntered into the room. She wore the uniform of the security force, a uniform I was starting to get used to seeing around here. She pointed at herself and took a friendly glance around the room. I'm Evelyn Turner, but just call me Eva. I'm signed to this block, so if you're having any problems, let me know. She winked at me, and I could feel the heat of a blush form in my cheeks. Her outgoing personality filled the tiny room. Oh, that's so sweet of you. Is it just you in charge of everybody on this floor? Not just me, ma'am. It's me and a few others, but I'm the smartest and toughest, so... She just shrugged, as if that was the only explanation we would need. Okay. I don't know her enough to really say whether or not it's obnoxious or charming. We'll say it's charming for now. Overall, she seemed very good-natured. Is the community center hard to find? No, nothing is hard to find down here. Just follow the signs of the crowd. Lots of people are heading out there now. Oh, Ashlyn, maybe we should get going then. So you're Ashlyn. I started to reply when my mother jumped in. Oh my goodness, how rude, of course. I'm Camilla Phillips, and this is my daughter, Ashlyn. Eva grinned and waved off my mom's concern. No worries, Miss Phillips. Adjusting to the change of living down here can be hard for you newcomers. Hard. Her grin faded and pessimism settled over the room. So, how are things up there? I don't know. Why am I answering this? I've never been up there. Survivable? Same as always. Eva nodded and gave me a small smile. I won't hold you two up any longer. I should really get back to making the rounds. I'll see you both around, okay? It was really nice meeting you, Miss Turner. The feeling's mutual, ma'am. Mom and I said our overly polite goodbyes as she left. Mom seemed to like her, which was good, especially if she was part of the security force. When I saw that name, I had originally shuddered. The word force just sounded so aggressive. It was probably just nerves, though. Shortly after Eva left, we ventured out into the halls to make our way to the community center. Visual novels, you have to kind of go and assume that, like, especially ones like that. I don't know, like, I feel like there was a dating sim element to this when I went in. I know they're not all like that, but I'm just like, okay, that means I have to try to, like, suss out who's gonna be the ending right now. It's so hard when they're not telling you anything about the premise. A large Welcome to Camden banner had been hung over the doors to the community center. The room was noisy and crowded. There were chairs facing a small stage and tables lined with coffee and water. Bulletin boards were on the walls with various flyers and notices tacked onto them haphazardly. The stage held a podium, and in front there were two clean but vintage speakers. The man I assumed to be the mayor was talking to some security officer on the stage. He stood tall and easy with a commanding presence. He looked important. I sat down in an empty seat with Mom and looked around. People were reacting to this new situation in a variety of ways. A woman near the back of the room was sobbing, and the man next to me was just staring blankly off into space. Mostly there was an air of relief. We had been accepted. Chosen. We were safe now. A hush fell over the crowd as the man stood to address us. He was handed a small microphone, and we heard the familiar crackle of speakers. It seems as if everyone has made it here safely. I'm glad. He smiled and looked around the room. You may not know who I am, but allow me to introduce myself anyway. I'm Rick Davidson, the mayor of Camden. I know a lot of you are scared, traumatized by your life on the surface. Know that now you're safe. Together we can build upon this community to create something magnificent. A home. He clasped his hands together and then held them up for everyone to see. There was some hesitant applause. First thing you all need to know is that Camden welcomes you. He flung his arms out wide to motion towards the crowd, and there was more applause, stronger now. In Camden, we know that cooperation is the key to a comfortable life. This is why I must ask all of you to prepare for the Camden Career Festival on Saturday. It's a yearly celebration to welcome you, and to help all of you find your place within our modest little society. As for choosing your career, there are a wide range of options. Each department will be hosting an open house in the evening starting tomorrow. You're all encouraged to attend as many as you like until you find a good fit. We will need everyone who is capable to contribute, and in turn I'm confident that we will continue to thrive. In Camden. Together. The applause was much louder and more enthusiastic now, and once it died down, he continued to speak. If work or anything else is stressing you out, I encourage you to take advantage of the many relaxing pastimes available here in Camden. Most are free. Though many of your basic needs will be met, your career will earn you enough beads to purchase a wide variety of luxury items. Fabric, entertainment, liquor, and, oh, have any of you ever tasted an apple? People began to move through the room and hand out small red things. I looked down at it and shared a look with my mother. We had heard of apples. I'd even seen a picture of one once. I bit into the firm flesh and tasted sweet juice. I looked down at the glorious apple in my hand and heard my mother squeal in delight beside me. Incredible! I smiled at her and continued to eat while the mayor waited for everyone to settle back down. He then continued to speak, but I was stuck in daydreams. Apples, nice fabric. It was also incredible. I glanced over at my mother. She was gazing at the mayor, completely enraptured. She clutched the apple tightly, only one bite missing. Mom? She only looked at me and smiled, nodding her head. Then she returned her attention to him. I glanced around the room and saw a lot of similar looks. If they weren't being directed towards the mayor, then to the red apples in their hands. Suddenly, everyone stood up and began to cheer. I joined in, trying to hide my confusion. He must have said something, but I missed it. Mom, why are we clapping? He's amazing. He really is. I think he's inspired optimism in everyone. It's just wonderful. I guess. What are we going to do for jobs? Mom stopped clapping for a moment. I'm not so sure. We'll need to attend those open house things. I wonder what kind of jobs they have. Is there a job for an apple taste tester? If there's a job for an apple taste tester, sign me up. I held up the apple core for her to see. She seemed to remember her own apple and took another bite. I'm going to try to say hi to our new mayor. You should walk around and mingle. Get to know our new neighbors. I didn't reply, but she had already started to walk away. I sighed and glanced around the room. I kept trying to tell myself that this was my life now, but I wasn't sure if it was sinking in. It was weird to not be searching for food or watching out for strange shifts in the wind. I glanced around the room. There were some people who clearly weren't new here. They stood near a large bulletin board. So many people. The noise echoed really badly in here. I closed my eyes and rubbed the bridge of my nose. Mom was right, but did I really want to try talking to any of these people when I still felt all on edge? Oh my god. I'll check out the bulletin. The area on the bulletin board was crowded. There were lots of flyers listing schedules, events, instructions, and also listing various positions for jobs and volunteers. Several very official-looking people were stopping people to talk. A woman glided through the crowd and stapled a sign-up sheet for something by the many others. She took a deep breath and then smiled at everyone. I'm Miss Miller, but please call me Gloria. I run the Community Affairs Department, so if you have any questions... Her voice projected over the nearby voices and got a lot of people's attention. She glanced around and caught my gaze, her smile brightening. Hi, Ashlyn is... I cleared my throat and tried again. I'm Ashlyn, I mean. Hi, Ashlyn. It's nice to meet you. Are you looking at the available positions? Shit, she was still talking to me. Specifically me? Yeah, and, well, everything. That looks fun. I pointed at a sign advertising a winter celebration. The very idea of winter was foreign, but I had read about it in books. A long time ago, it used to get really cold, and sometimes frozen water would even fall from the sky. Oh, that was my idea. I thought we could create new traditions in the community and use the archaic ones as inspiration. Her smile faded a bit. Winter is a weird theme, I admit, but I thought it would be an interesting novelty. It's good to keep people busy. That's the whole point. She tapped her temple gently. Times are hard, but we can't let us guests down. That's true, I suppose. Her natural smile had returned somewhat. Are you good with people? We always have openings in community affairs. I don't know. Maybe? I'm not really sure if I could say. What was it like in that town you came from? Shouldn't you know? It's not like there is another for... Wait. Are you one of those people who were born down here? I suppose I gave myself away, didn't I? Yeah, so you've never been to the surface? Nope. Oh, but I have to run. It was lovely meeting you, though. I'm sure I'll see you around. Yeah, of course. She nodded and ducked back into the crowd, vanishing amongst the swell of bodies. I looked back up at the board and made mental notes of the various flyers. I never remember all of it, but I suppose I could go back later. I caught sight of Mom chatting happily with the mayor. I had no idea how she managed to get through the throng of people that surrounded him, yet there she was. Everyone was starting to leave, so I decided to head home. Mom would know where to find me. The tunnels were getting noisy. More and more people began to appear as they went about their daily lives. I picked up the pace. There were so many people it just made my skin crawl a little bit. A lot of people were looking at me with open curiosity. Something about me must be screaming, "Service!" Maybe sand was falling out of my hair or something. I paced around the tiny room that was now my home and waited for Mom to show up. As soon as I had started to worry, the heavy door opened and she appeared. "Were you waiting for me?" "I want to go to bed and I didn't want to lock you out." "I have a key." "No, you don't." I point towards her key that she had forgotten on the table by a box of fresh clothing. Well, lucky for me, I have such a wonderful daughter." Yeah. So how's the mayor? You seem smitten." She waved me off and dug through her clothing to find somebody to sleep in. "He's a nice guy, that's all. Are you curious about him? His family made this whole place, funded it and everything. He asks for nothing in return, just wants everyone to live a better life." Like I said, smitten. Mom laughed and retreated to the bathroom to prepare for bed. I was already good to go, so I curled up in what was now my new bed and tried to be grateful for the nice blankets. The small space was unnerving, but I slept facing out to make it easier on myself. I'd get used to it. I could hear her humming, and it made me smile. I knew I could count on Mom to get a crush on a guy our first day here. Her romantic escapades got into a bit of trouble before, but hopefully it wasn't something we would need to deal with here. Well, I don't know about that. It seems like it would. Lights inside of our quarters blinked off, and I tried to get comfortable. Mom switched on her white noise maker, and I closed my eyes. I'd been shocked that she had grabbed such a thing, but now I was drowning out all the weird sounds that were echoed through the place. Luckily, this place had electricity, and the mayor seemed generous with it. Tomorrow, I would need to find something to do until I could go to a career open house. It felt strange to not be sealing the cracks and watching for a storm, but the door was sturdy and there were no windows. I was so exhausted I couldn't have stayed awake all night, even if I had wanted to. Okay, so, alright. So I gotta keep these in what's the sons? So for romance, there's Eva, Gloria, Jude, and Micah, and I don't know what this means, but there's Sam, Tabby, Trevor, and I think general. Is that just like opinion and stress levels? So 1 stress level, 1 standing. When the intercom finished its annoying good morning message, I rolled over in bed and saw that Mom was already up and dressed. We need to see if we can buy a coffee maker somewhere that still works. Coffee was one of those luxury items, but I was pleased to learn that it wasn't too expensive. Why don't you get ready real quick and come with me to the community center? They serve coffee there every morning. For free? No, but it's cheaper than buying the stuff to make it yourself. I groaned and squeezed my eyes closed. Sleep more, get coffee. I would keep sleeping. I waved my mother off and mumbled that I planned to go back to sleep. Suit yourself. At least get up in time for the career open houses. I'll assume that means, yes, mother, I love you. I closed my eyes and heard the click of the door closing before I fell back to sleep. I woke up a few hours later. The room was quiet, but I could hear commotion outside. I sat up and glanced around the room, but Mom had not returned. I couldn't imagine what she was still doing at the community center. It was already early afternoon. Already? Okay. I took a breath and reminded myself not to worry. We were safe in here. I shouldn't be so surprised. I do this kind of shit. I got up and grabbed my keys. Couldn't hurt to go check on her. As I got ready, I continued to hear noises outside the room. My heart began to race and I quickened my movements. I grabbed the handle and opened the door, trying to steel myself for what I would find outside. A couple stood watch as 2 security officers worked on one of the doors. Asked someone what's going on. Hey, what are they doing? Oh, I locked us out. They're opening the door for us. I nodded and watched for a moment. They're using some kind of device to slide in between the door and frame. It beeped and the door popped open. The couple began to cheer and thank the security officers, so I backed up and left. It was a relief that all the noise had been just such an inane cause. The hallways towards the community center were lively. They were narrow, but people had their doors propped open and everyone was chatting and sharing gossip. Stories of the past were shared along with hopes for the future. No one worried about power failures or dust storms. No one eyed each other with heavy suspicion. Everyone here had gone soft. I wanted to be soft. I shook the uncomfortable thoughts away. The din escalated until I reached the community center, which seemed very busy. I walked in and saw a lot of people wandering around and socializing. There were a lot of newcomers who I sort of recognized from the orientation. They stood near the bulletin board looking over all the career and volunteer positions. The air felt stale and dry. People who seemed less haggard eyed us newcomers with open curiosity and even a bit of apprehension. I took a deep, shuddering breath and shook it off. I could deal with the odd looks later. Right now I needed to find Mom. I needed to make sure she hadn't gotten herself into some kind of trouble. I walked around for maybe an hour, nodding and trying not to bump into anyone before finding her. Of all the people in Camden, she sat next to the freaking mayor. They were in a rather large group of people all engaged in discussion. Mom? Oh, Ashlyn! Everybody, this is my daughter. Everyone turned to look at me and I tried to smile, not showing how awkward I felt with all eyes on me. I woke up and came to find you. What's up? Rick is here to address everyone's questions. We're all so new to this kind of life. I ignored her calling the mayor Rick. She was smitten, all right. Her eyes practically beamed up at me. Please, have a seat and join us. I shook my head and had no desire for more of his speeches right now. Mom was safe and I was hungry. No thanks. I'm going to get something to eat and then probably try to decide which open house to attend. Okay, honey. I'll be along shortly. I nodded and started to leave. I walked over to grab a cup of coffee on my way out. It's probably cold by now, but it was better than nothing. A man stood at the table, staring down at the various cups laid out and deep in thought. Not a morning person either, huh? No, I'm terrible at mornings. He gave me a brief smile, grabbed 2 cups of coffee, and then handed me one. Forgive me, I had a late night. I'm Dr. Micah Everett, and I suppose I should be encouraging you to attend the clinic's open house. Clinic? I'm head of the medical department, and unfortunately, I'm only one of very few medical doctors. It's hard to find people with the stomach for this kind of work. He spoke as we walked together towards the area with sugar and cream. You don't have to have any medical knowledge, do you? I know enough to survive. I've had to treat a few illnesses and injuries, nothing extreme. That's more than many have to start with. It's my sincerest hope that Camden can avoid any health-related catastrophes in the near future. Or at all, preferably. It was wonderful meeting you. Oh, I never got your name. My apologies. I'm Ashlyn. It was nice meeting you, Ashlyn. I do hope to see you at the open house. I might come by if I can. All right. He nodded and walked away. I was starting to get hungry, and coffee alone just wasn't going to be enough. There was some food waiting for me at home that was fresh and sand-free. I ducked into the hallway and made my way through the people going about their day. Getting home wasn't too hard. I just followed the signs that led toward my block. Everything was actually laid out really well. It was different than the surface, where everything was just sort of shoved together from ruins. When I got back home, I sighed with relief. It wasn't exactly quiet, but there weren't people all pressed up against each other here. I distracted myself with food, portioning everything out carefully. The fresh stuff would spoil if I wasn't careful. I glanced through the welcome packet while I ate. Hours passed before Mom finally returned. Again, she was in high spirits. I smiled and tried not to show that I was concerned. The mayor seemed like a nice enough guy. He wasn't in a relationship or anything. I should simply wish her the best. It was probably only one-sided anyway. He was the freaking mayor after all. Oh, Ashlyn, Rick is so wonderful, isn't he? He insisted he escort me all the way here. Oh, really? Is it dangerous for us to be in lone halls? I don't think it was like that. I think he just wanted to talk to me more. She shimmied her shoulders with pride and began to swan around the room towards the food. That's nice. So, have you thought about the career open houses yet? Which one are you going to go to? Mom paused and I saw her deflate a bit. I'm not all that good at anything. We always just did what we needed in order to survive. It seems strange to have a job. Yeah, but this is like a proper society, right? Yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it? I smiled and nodded despite the anxiety. I didn't see a reason to worry. The lights hadn't flickered too much. I hadn't heard the roar of a sandstorm, and no one had tried to rob or kill us in our sleep. Things were different now. Better. I just needed to adjust. So where are you headed tonight? Any of the jobs interest you? I shrugged. Just gonna check out the open houses and figure it out from there. She nodded and I reprehensively left to attend the first open house. I walked into a large open room with several tables all lined up. A uniform had been set up and there were lots of the little packets with information. A large man stood by a bulletin board and was talking to everyone who came in. I'd barely taken 2 steps inside when Eva bounded up next to me. Ashlyn, you came! I'm not sure what I had imagined, but this wasn't it. It looks so boring. Eva frowned briefly but shook it off. I think a lot of you surface landers are used to a very different kind of authority. This is set up for the people, to protect them, not to control them. She placed a friendly hand on my shoulder. Come on, I'll show you around. No one will give you a better tour than me. Sure. Since she worked here, she'd have all kinds of valuable insight. Show me all the secrets, okay? She grinned at me. You got it. I followed Eva as she pointed things out. She seemed out of sort for anything. That's my locker, that's the cameras, but they're unreliable as hell. These are the holding cells. She opened a door into a narrow hallway with small secure rooms. No one is inside, thankfully. The idea of being confined to such a tiny place made my stomach drop. Holding cells? Yeah, if someone acts up too much. She glanced at me and her smile faded a bit. Hey, not people like you. How do you know that? Eva placed a hand on my arm. You don't look like a criminal to me. Well, that's a relief. Eva shrugged. The mayor doesn't make a habit of taking in criminal types. I know what it's like on the surface, but it's different down here, really. And I want to see something really cool? Sure. Eva led me to a back room and opened the door into the darkness. There was a snap and lit up to reveal several weapons. Oh, shit. Right? We only ever use them when we're dealing with invaders. Doesn't happen often. You know how to shoot these? I picked up a large gun. It was heavy and cold. I'd seen plenty of guns, I just never held them. They were hoarded by Sandmen, and if they learned that you had one... I handed it back to her and she held it out, striking a pose. I have begged Vince to let me take this home, but he won't let me. Why? We don't have any art for this one? Probably not safe. Having that kind of firepower can't be safe. Yeah, that's what he says too. Okay, come on. Eva then led me back to the main room and outlined what would be my various duties if I joined the security force. Protecting people, fighting off anyone who attacked Camden, and doing rounds to watch out for stuff. Lots of paperwork. Apparently she hated paperwork, but seemed to enjoy all the other aspects of it. Went back to the boss, as Eva called him. He didn't seem bothered by my earlier absence and told me to call him Vince. He seemed content with that introduction and left me with Eva. I wasn't sure if this was the job for me. It sounded dangerous, but excited. I moved into Camden hoping for security. Maybe the best way to make sure I was safe was to take matters into my own hands. As everything wrapped up, I grabbed an informational packet and then I headed back home. Mom was already in bed, so I crawled into my own and went to sleep. Oh my god. Why can't I not read this sentence? Mom was already in bed, so I crawled into my own and went to sleep easier than I ever had. Okay. So I didn't do too much anything higher standing because I went out. Still low stress, so that's okay. Ah! I sat up trying to shake the nightmare. I couldn't remember what it was about. Something with hands. Ashlyn? Yeah, just a bad dream. She nodded. I'm realizing that I'm, like, blocking. Hold on. Maybe... Where am I? There. Actually, I wonder if it's better on the other end. Do you want some breakfast? I waited for you. I leaned up in bed and Mom began to look at me. After a brief Mom scan, she smiled. I rubbed my eyes. I wasn't hungry, but Mom probably just wanted the company. Hold on. No, I don't think there's a place I could really put myself that isn't at least kind of... Actually, maybe like this. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of okay. Okay, let me get up. I got up and pushed away the last wisps of the nightmare. It was good as forgotten. Then I sat at our thin fold-up table and ate fresh fruit and porridge. I was starting to think I could live on fresh fruit and vegetables alone. I used the recipes provided, but I'm not sure if this is how everything's supposed to taste. Better than what we used to eat. I shrugged and left out the times when we had been forced to go hungry. I think I'm going to head out in the community center for coffee. She peered down, eyebrows raised slightly. I nodded. Coffee. I can't believe they have enough of a supply to be so flippant with it. Coffee every morning really is nice. It's wonderful. Maybe the mate. I cleared my throat and stood up, then dusted myself off and made a show of heading towards the door. Coffee first. She laughed and nodded, stood and placed the dirty dishes in the sink that had running water. It was incredible. Mom opened the door and we stepped out into the hallway. I made sure to grab the keys. We turned a corner and then almost ran into the mayor himself. Oh, excuse me. Well, fancy bumping into you here. What brings you out to this block? He cleared his throat and straightened his shirt. I like to walk around. I used to jog, but this seemed more manageable. Camilla, how are you liking your new accommodations? Everything is absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad we managed to get a spot in Camden. He smiled, and I swear I saw him blush briefly. I can't imagine how you were living before you came here. Someone walking in the hallway shouted a greeting at the mayor, and he waved in reply. It's rough up there. I miss the extra space, but our home here is much more luxurious. I don't miss the random power outages either. She visibly shuddered. We use geothermal power here. It's a lot more reliable. Everything is maintained regularly. I make sure of it. He nodded and crossed his arms. He had a look about him that said yes, he did make sure of it. I wouldn't want to be in maintenance if there was a malfunction. I'm very grateful. I don't understand the bit about thermal genes, but yes, it sounds lovely. Even happier that I don't have to worry about it. It's the truth. I'm just happy the lights stay on. We even have cold water. He smiled and nodded. I know the rooms are small. They're just lovely. So clean and efficient. Running water. Oh, that alone is enough to make me happy. Mom beamed at him and I saw him relax somewhat. I cleared my throat to ruin the energy building in the air. Mom, I'm dying here. Coffee? Right. We are on our way to the community center. Don't let me keep you then. I'll see you around, Camilla and Ashland. We separated and I eyed Mom suspiciously. The mayor seemed okay, but he was the mayor. What was she thinking? He seems like such a gentleman, you know? Uh-huh, but he's also the mayor. The guy in charge of everything and who owns the whole place. So? What does that mean? He can't be a gentleman? Why are you looking at me like that? I know... Nope, I'm still the mom, so you shush right there. I can tell you're about to lecture me and I don't want to hear it, young lady. I rolled my eyes as she wrapped an arm around me. Don't fret over me. I'm not that old yet. Or helpless. I can take care of myself. I think it's like the opposite that she's worried about, honestly. I know. I just can't help worrying anyway. After we got some coffee, we learned about the library. We'd seen information about it before, but it hadn't occurred to us that we could borrow books for free. Mom had only brought a few of her cherished romance novels that were battered from frequent use. It would be good to read something new. The library was cluttered with books and a set of desks off to the side. Apparently they held some kind of educational services here. A guy, probably a few years older than me, sat behind the counter looking down at a book. He hadn't bothered to glance up, but I could only imagine that he was a librarian. Hey. So, are you the librarian? Yeah, I guess. I looked at Mom, and she just shrugged. She seemed content to watch me try to interact with him. So how do I get a free book? He sighed and grabbed a box and set it up on the counter. He opened it without looking away from his book and then handed me 2 blank index cards. Look at the other cards to see what to do. When I reached for the box with the other index cards, the guy sat his book down and glared at me. Write your name and home index number and then give it back to me. Whenever you take a book out of the library, I'll note it on your card, and when you return, I'll cross it out. Sounds very clever. We did as he asked, and he handed the cards back to him. Without another word, he placed it back into the box and returned his attention to his book. Before I could walk towards the shelves, the door opened behind us and someone else walked inside. He was taller and handsome, about the same age as the quiet and rude librarian. Hey Trevor, you're not scaring everyone away, are you? The librarian, or Trevor, set his book down and stood up. Hello, welcome to the library. Can I help you find you something to read? As he spoke, his voice was deadpan and I didn't know how to respond. Mom simply walked away towards the reading material. I should have followed her. Don't worry about him. He doesn't bite. I'm Brian. I run the greenhouse. Oh, hi. I'm going to sit back down now. Where do you get all of that youthful energy, Trevor? We are the same age, Brian. Brian turned his attention to Trevor and I was left to my own devices. I walked around and took a look at everything that lined the shelves. The place was small, but overall nice. The 2 guys seemed completely lost in their own little world. Trevor was trying to read, and Brian was trying to get and keep Trevor's attention. I finally started to figure out the organization system when I heard Mom coming. What do you think is up with them? Mom sidled up next to me, holding the 2 new books in her hand. Both had covers that depicted a man and woman clutching each other oddly. I don't know. How many books do you think we're allowed to check out at once? Not sure, but I suppose he'll have to tell us, won't he? I nodded and looked around the room as Mom returned to the romance section. There were tons of books lined up and neatly displayed, and it would be really wonderful to have something new to read. What did I want to check out? I don't know. Something practical. I grabbed an old alternative remedy and I met back up with Mom and we headed towards the counter. I waited to see if Trevor would react to Mom's pile of books, but he only took our cards and noted the books we were taking. Brian smiled in a friendly way, but didn't speak again until we started to walk away. Then it was only Trevor. Huh. They seemed to have their own thing going on. We spent the rest of the day organizing our tiny home and reading the books we borrowed from the library. When the time came to attend one of the career open houses, we went our separate ways. I tried to pick a good field to check out, but I had no way of knowing what would be interesting to me or not, so I just headed to the medic's open house. I walked into the clinic and was hit by the chemical smell of medicine and illness. It looked like a waiting area with places for patients hidden behind the curtains. There were pamphlets set up on the table, and a lot of people dressed in crisp white clothing. A woman with big blonde hair walked over and took my arm.
Hello there, darling. I'm Iris Marie Jackson, but please just call me Iris. Everyone else does.
She led me over to where everyone was sitting. I saw the doctor approach. I almost didn't recognize Micah in his full uniform. When our eyes met, he leaned forward slightly and spoke softly. Ashlyn, I'm so pleased that you were able to come by. He turned to the others and spoke to everyone. I'm sure that you are all at least somewhat aware of what we do here in the clinic. It's important work that helps keep everyone healthy and alive. While we teach you some first aid, you can help us by keeping records and maintaining the clinic's sanitary requirements.
He means writing people's names down and cleaning.
She looks like Barbara Streisand, so I'm kind of giving her this sort of like, I don't know. It's kind of like Jersey Barbara Streisand, I don't know. Yes, Iris is correct. While doing this, I can teach you as much medical knowledge as you can stand. The more doctors and nurses we have, the safer we'll all be.
How about a tour?
Iris clapped her hands together as she looked at everyone. Micah wiped the bridge of his nose.
Come on now, get close. I don't want to lose my voice.
I started walking towards Iris, but felt compelled to stop and talk to Micah. He might get annoyed if I didn't stick to the tour, though. Asked Micah what's bothering him. I backed away from the group and walked up to Micah. He looked up from the clipboard and looked at me with curiosity. Yes? What's going on? You seem stressed out. Stressed? You just do not know me very well. This is my typical behavior. He gave me a small smile and started to turn away. Well, sure, but you're the main doctor, aren't you? If something's ever wrong with you, then who do you tell? Pardon? If you get sick or injured... I appreciate the sentiment, but there are very capable medics here. I assure you that if I fall, someone will be able to replace me. Oh, come on, I didn't mean it that way. You seem so tensed up. Your concern for me is touching, but misguided. He finally lowered the clipboard and looked at me over. I'm simply worried about the turnout. I was hoping to attract more newcomers. Perhaps you can enlighten me. Why doesn't anyone want to work at the clinic? I waited a moment, but he really seemed to want me to say something. It smells kind of gross in here. He didn't even crack a smile. It's hard to return to a life of blood and death when you just left it. It's not for everyone. Well, shit, is that your recruitment speech? Because if it is, I know why you're so understaffed. He gave me a small smile and averted his eyes. That is why Iris is leading the tour right now and not me. He nodded and then walked away to get back to whatever it was he was doing. I joined up with Iris as she was giving the final details of her tour.
And that's that, sugar.
Once Iris was finished talking, everyone started to leave. I grabbed a brochure and looked it over. A job at the clinic could be dangerous, but I'd be surrounded by sick people. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be responsible for someone else's well-being, though it might come natural for me after so many years of looking after Mom. I headed home, but spared a final glance towards the nervous doctor. He appeared to be counting. Okay. Alright, Micah. So we met Trevor. We met Micah, Gora, Eva. Who is that other guy? Brian. He's not on here. So I guess you can be friends with Trevor. I want to be friends with Trevor. I don't think I would date Trevor. I don't know who Jude is yet, though. Sam, I don't know. Tabby, I don't know. Okay. I opened my eyes and stared up at the ceiling. There was a stillness in the room, so Mom had likely left. I knew there was almost nothing to do until the career open houses. It made me feel anxious. Mom had probably gone to the community center for coffee and a chance to see the mayor. I might as well get myself a cup before I start to aimlessly explore Camden. I ate until I wasn't hungry, got dressed, and savored the chilled water. Part of me wanted to get used to this new life. Another part wanted to avoid it. What would happen if this didn't last? We could be kicked out. I'd heard of it happening. I needed to hurry if I wanted warm coffee. See, my goal with that, always, like, if you think there's a chance you might get kicked out, become essential. Just become essential. I grabbed a cup of coffee and stood near the back of the room. I spotted Mom. She was chatting happily with someone beside her. The mayor not far away. Something had my mother very excited, but I wasn't sure what. She would tell me as soon as she got a chance, though, I was sure. As I began to zone out, a guy tapped me on the shoulder. Shoulder tapper. Hey, have they run out of coffee yet? No, but it looks like they might soon. Okay, thanks. Ashlyn. Jude. This is Jude. Then he was gone, vanishing to the sea of people that crowded the last of the coffee cups. I finished my cup of coffee and glanced at the exit. It was getting busy in here. Louder. Time to go. It didn't take long for me to meet Mom's eyes. I waved and she returned the gesture. With that accomplished, I turned and retreated into the halls. I stepped out into the hallway, eerily quiet except for the noise bleeding out from the community center and the hum of the neon lights. I leaned against the cool wall and tried to steady my breathing. What the hell was wrong with me? It felt like my skin was crawling. Guess you're not just used to crowds. The door opened and the noise escalated briefly. I looked over and saw Jude emerge. Our eyes met. He nodded as a greeting and then began to walk away. Before I could think too much about it, I called out to him. I want to know what his deal is. Hey, Jude. Hey, Jude. I winced as he saw his spine straighten. He turned to me and appeared to relax somewhat. What's wrong? He eyed me for a moment before sighing. Come on. He turned away and began to walk, so I followed him. As I fell to step beside him, he spoke. You look like you could use a trip to Icarus. I nodded. Whatever that sounded fine to me. Oh, it's a bar. I followed Jude inside Icarus. There were a few familiar and unfamiliar faces spread out toward the room. The place was dimly lit and somber. Quiet music played. A woman stood behind the bar, handing out glasses filled with various colored fluids. I should be able to get something to drink here. Something strong, maybe. There were dart boards, a pool table, and even a jukebox. Some people were playing cards, and a few danced drunkenly into the music that drifted out of the jukebox speakers. The woman looked past me, focusing on Jude. What do you want? Hey, Sam. Don't Sam me. You were supposed to wake me up this morning, you little shit. Despite her harsh tone, she smiled at him and poured a drink. We approached the seat near the bar, and he sat down. I did the same, unsure of what I had stumbled into. He pulled a rubber band out of his pocket and began to toy with it, snapping it and stretching it out. Sam walked over and set down a glass with dark honey-colored liquid in front of Jude, and then eyed me curiously. You want something? Yeah. I nodded. I would like something, but what? Whiskey with ice, scotch with bitters, the most alcohol possible, or sparkling rum with mint. I don't drink, so I don't know. I don't want to go for water and be like a nerd here, even though that's what I personally would drink. But I'm not going to go for the most alcohol possible. That seems like a bad idea. Sparkling rum with mint. I think that's like a fruity drink, maybe. This is like a really serious one, and this is like a basic kind of thing. This is just weird, and that's just like no. Let's try sparkling rum with mint. Something minty sounded good right now. I'll take a hard water. She nodded and made an odd gesture towards Jude when she just laughed off and then left. Sam's the best. She's the closest thing I have to family anymore. Oh yeah? Yeah, when my parents died, I stayed with her. I was so young, I'd probably be dead if she hadn't taken me in. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He shrugged. He looked away, his jaw tensed for a moment. Sam walked over, set my drink down, and left. I suspect you have your own sob story. We all do. I nodded. That was true, unfortunately. I don't want to think about it. No one does. He held up his glass and swayed the liquid while watching it intently. That's why we indulge in things like this. He took a deep drink and set the glass back down. Man, I want to smoke. Do you smoke? No, I never have. I'm sure I'll think about it less and less as time passes, but quitting is a bitch. Be glad you never started. Can't smoke down here? He laughed and leaned forward. I mean, I could, but Sam would kick my ass. Besides, it's expensive as hell, and it's no secret that enough of it will kill you. He grinned at me and took another sip of his drink. Well, it won't kill you, though. This is also technically true. Even, like, eating technically will kill you, but you have to because not eating kills you faster. It's so dumb. What is life? You're right. Sounds like you have plenty of reasons to quit. Right? He smiled and leaned back in his seat. He quit, and it's gonna stay that way. Sam spoke, making me jump. I hadn't even heard her walk up. Yeah, I quit. She ruffled his hair affectionately and walked away, taking his empty glass with her. So, Ashlyn, spill out some of your own issues. Don't make this awkward. I don't want to complain. Haven't had it that bad. Jude frowned and glanced briefly at Sam. Ashlyn, someone's always got it worse. You look pretty shaken and you only just got down here. It's been a while, but I remember what it's like. Try to explain. This is a big change. I'm not used to these enclosed spaces and all these people. Everywhere I look, people. I took a slow breath to steady my words. It's good though, right? Safer? I tried my best to smile. I just need to get used to it. Jude nodded and then glanced at his hands. Safer. That means it's all worthwhile, doesn't it? Yeah? We both fell silent for a moment. I felt like I should say something, but Jude spoke, thankfully changing the subject. Which block did you get put in? Block C, I think it's called. I'm in Block B, but they're all really close. I actually get the place to myself. Sam could stay with me, but she set up a little home for herself in the stockroom. He smirked at me. You're lucky. I'm come to this place with my mom. Can you imagine people with bigger families? There are bigger units, though I imagine they're hard to come by. People don't really have large families anymore, though, do they? I trailed off and Jude changed the subject again. We made small talk for a while. He had another drink, but then Sam only brought him water. He didn't complain. Eventually, other people began to enter the bar, so I left to head back to my place. It was almost time to attend an open house. Okay. There was a bit more time to kill, so I tried to read. It was really comfortable. I was really comfortable and felt my eyes closing. Oh no. I had only dozed for a few minutes when Mom woke me up. Now I need to go to the community center for open house. When I walked in, I could see that this open house was very popular. There were a lot of people here milling about. Ah, Gloria's. Gloria saw me and came up to me. Her moves were graceful, but her smile looked off.
Are you interested in working in community affairs? We have the most fun. We get to put together all of the events, and we're the ones who keep Camden running smoothly. We facilitate communication between Camden and other cities, help maintain inventories, and broker trade. Lots of fun stuff that just sounds dull, promise. She motioned for us all to sit, and she continued on with the whole spiel. I realized she hadn't just been talking to only me, so I quickly sat down and listened. Gloria outlined a typical day and the various things new people would be in charge of. As she spoke, the mayor walked by quietly, but immediately pulled attention away from Gloria. Please, ignore me. Nonsense! You're an integral part of the community affairs, after all. She waved him over, so he moved to stand beside her. While working in community affairs, you'll be working close with our beloved mayor.
I need a strong team behind me to help cultivate these kind of society we all dream of. Gloria nodded, but I thought I saw her eye twitch.
Yes, and that takes a whole lot of work. Fun work.
Is it, though? I don't think I want to romance Gloria, but I do want to know all the tea. Rick and Gloria started to outline and explain various job tasks, but their energy was very tense. When it was over, everyone dispersed. The mayor was quickly surrounded. Gloria began to adjust things that had been left on the table. Hey, Gloria.
Good evening, Ashlyn. Do you have any questions about working in this department?
She looked up and smiled at me, but it was forced. Maybe I should say something to her about the mayor. Be blunt. Not really, I just noticed some tension between you and the mayor.
What? No, we work together very well.
Her smile became even more forced. You just seemed a little annoyed.
I'm just tired.
I had an early morning. She glanced towards the door, and I noticed that a lot of people had left.
I'll see you around, all right, Ashlyn?
Okay, get some rest. I took the hint and left. Okay, things are basically the same. So, Sam's somebody I can be friends with, that's good. So I've met all of the romance options. I think I'm gonna go for Micah. I would ordinarily go for Eva, but she's a cop, and I don't know where they're gonna go with that. Gloria, I'm not sure. She doesn't seem like, I don't know. I just don't want to get into, like, office drama that much. Jude and Micah both seem really cool, but I want to kind of, like, I don't know, something about going to the hospital seems like a good idea. Sam, the bartender, we got Trevor, the librarian. We don't know who Tabby is yet. We'll find this out. Mom woke me up with a strange idea.
Let's go take a walk at the gym.
What?
They have a track and stuff. Let's go check it out.
But she pushed a cup of coffee into my hands. Here. I looked down at it and blinked slowly. Okay then, I guess.
Great.
I sighed, got ready, and followed, sipping the coffee carefully as I did. Good gym. I walked into the gym with Mom and noticed rows of workout equipment. There were windows that overlooked the greenhouses, giving the room a luxurious feel. Greenhouses are cool. The jogging track looked inviting, and I would get to be close to the windows while I walked.
I think I'll walk around the track. What about you?
Yeah, exercise, take your mind off of things. I could see myself spending a lot of time here. It was actually pretty nice. I can walk for a bit, but then I'm going to jog. As we started to walk along the track, a gigantic man and a small girl walked in. Oh, Vincent, I don't know. Hey, you're going the wrong way. Mom and I stopped and looked over at him. He was the head of security. You're supposed to go clockwise. Pointed up at a small sign that says as much. I hadn't noticed it before.
Dad, stop! You're so embarrassing.
Oh, this is Tabby.
Thanks for letting us know.
Ashlyn, right? I recognize you from our open house. I nodded, though I was surprised to see he'd remember me. There must have been a ton of people there that night. This is my daughter, Tabitha. Sorry to interrupt your workout. I just don't want to see anyone getting hurt. From going the wrong way in the track? People come in here and zone out and then run into each other. Sounds crazy, but I've seen it happen. He shrugged his massive shoulders.
It's nice that you come here with your daughter.
She squeezed me closer.
I'm Camilla, Ashlyn's mother.
It's nice to see more people at the gym. You ladies have a great workout. He smiled and his daughter began to desperately pull him toward the weights. Mom and I resumed walking, this time in the proper direction.
He seemed nice.
Yeah. I'm glad he told us about the rule. Now we don't look like assholes to anyone else who walks in. After warming up, I left Mom behind to jog. It felt good to stretch my legs. Once I had some spare money, maybe I could purchase a radio or CD player. I'd owned a CD player, but it was stolen years ago. I still had a few precious CDs, even though they weren't in great condition. They'd probably still play. When Mom was finished, we'd head back home. She seemed to have even more energy now. When we arrived home, we made lunch, so we had a bit more time to kill before the next open house. We sat around and read our books. It was nice to not have to worry about anything happening while we relaxed. Mom, any idea what you're going to sign up to do?
Maybe. It's a position that's hard to get, so I don't want to tell you and jinx it.
Really? Haven't you been going to the open houses?
Yeah, I have a backup plan.
She shrugged and turned away from me. I still felt curious, but I let it go. She would tell me eventually. Anyway, it was time to head to the next open house. I tried not to stress over it. It was the last one I had any interest in. I picked the ones that I thought I would like. Tomorrow was the Camden Career Fair, and I'd have to make a choice. The air was warm and wet. Very wet. There was green everywhere. I looked, it almost took my breath away. The smell of strange earthy scent mixed with produce and fertilizer. It was strong. I was so distracted I hadn't noticed him come up to me until he snapped his rubber band. Ah, this is where... Ooh. Jude working at the greenhouses makes it a tough choice. As much as I think, like, Micah is cool and I want to help being a doctor because it's cool, I love the idea of being in the greenhouse. Hey. Oh, you startled me. Really? He snapped the rubber band against his wrist and then twisted it around his fingers. So it's nice working here and stuff. Brian's over there. He pointed towards Brian, who I had met the other day in the library. So, did you want to look at the greenhouse, or did you want to actually work here? I think I'd like to work here. I mean, who wouldn't want to work in the soggy heat box? Jude smirked at me. Let me show her around. Brian is busy doing Brian stuff. Brian stuff? Don't ask. He's not a bad guy, but he's easily distracted and kind of useless. Tell me how you really feel. Jude began to lead me through the greenhouse and showed me where all the workstations were. Oh, I thought he was just gonna whisper to me, be like, Brian sucks ass! It was a lot more paperwork than I realized. Lots of things to check and double check. I wouldn't be harvesting anything, at least not until I'd been there a while. Apparently they had to deal with thieves from time to time. They're using black market for some of the narcotic plants. Weed! It's a vertical garden. It doesn't need sun or soil. We use special lighting, and I've lost you. No. All I'd have to do if you work here is clean, fill out paperwork, and make sure everything was running like it should. That doesn't sound so bad. It isn't. Why should I work here over anywhere else, though? You get to listen to the music I pick out. You don't have to deal with a lot of people. It's pretty peaceful here, actually. You don't get a bunch of free food or anything. And if I'm not playing music, you can hear a constant hum from the machines over in maintenance. Pointed over behind him, and I noticed the noise. The sound wasn't too obtrusive, but maybe if you went deeper into the greenhouse, it would be. Too bad about the free food, though. I guess everyone would be working here if that was true. I guess you should go sit and listen to Brian's pitch. He's about to start soon. Alright, see you later. I'll go see what he has to say. Maybe it'll be riveting. Yeah, see you. Yeah, I do want to see what he has to say. It is tough to, like, I know that to do a full romance thing, you have to, like, zero in on somebody and be just like, oh yeah, but like I don't know anything about this world, so I'm a lot of times picking things to try to get more information all the time. I sat with the other newcomers and listened to Brian list off a lot of the same information Judah's just told me, with a lot of jumping around and extra details added in. It was hard to follow what he was saying, and I couldn't help but daydream to cut the boredom. Finally, he stopped talking. He started to sidestep as if wanting to escape, then he was gone. With the event over, I made my way back home. I liked the greenhouse, but it was muggy and hot. Brian didn't seem like he'd be great to work for either. Jude didn't seem so bad, though. Mom was in bed reading, and I was looking through her 10 books to see what to read when there was a buzz at the door. I opened the door and saw Ava in the hallway. Sorry, I know it's late. We were just making rounds and I thought I'd check in with you guys and make sure everything was going good. I bit my lip and tried to respond. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Mom called out a greeting from her spot on the bed. She must have been preoccupied with her book. You sure? Feeling a bit stressed out. Honestly, I'm a bit stressed, I guess. There's just a lot going on, you know. She paused and looked me over for a moment. Yeah, I guess it's a lot to think about. Big choices and stuff. She glanced around the hall. Hey, come on. Aren't you working? She shrugged. It's fine, come on. I shrugged and followed her. I looked back at Mom before closing the door, and she waved with her face still hidden behind the book. She led me through the halls, and we ended up at the entrance. Why are we here? It's nice and quiet. I thought maybe it'd help you think and clear your head. Sure, it was peaceful here. Thanks for bringing me here. It does feel very isolated. But that's good, right? In a way. I mean, it's not like I'm alone. I smiled at her and kicked at some of the sand on the ground. You're trying to figure out which career to sign up for? Yeah, and I know which career you think I should do. She smiled, looked away, and scratched behind her ear. No, I mean, whatever you choose, I'm sure it'll be great. Thanks, Eva. She laughed. So I should, get back, but you can hang around here for a bit. If anyone comes and asks you, just say you got lost. Okay, thanks, Eva. She blushed and backed up a few steps. Yep, yeah, I will, see you later. She left, sending me a final look before vanishing. I took a deep breath of the dusty, warm air. It was a good reminder of why I wanted to come to Camden in the first place. I was down here, safe, and out of the sun. The only thing I needed to do now was take my place in this society and work. That wouldn't be so hard. If I could survive on the surface, I could do this. I headed back home. Okay. I did one. I thought I had one from before. Maybe I made that up. Oh, I have 3 standing now. Yeah. Today was the day. I opened my eyes slowly while Mom hummed and danced around the room. I know you're awake. You might as well get up and get dressed. I don't know if I could do this. Mom stopped and sat down on the bed beside me. You can do anything. We've survived everything we've had thrown at us so far. Compared to that, this festival will be easy. I smiled at her and started to get out of bed. She got up and went back to dancing around the room. You're in a really good mood this morning. I'm looking forward to the festival. They're going to have lots of food, play music, and I'll be decorated. Really? How do you know? Mom shrugged. A knowing smile tugged at her features. She's joining the community thing, probably. I've just heard, you know. Everyone has been talking about it. I sighed and tried to get myself clean and dressed, but my hands shook a bit. There was a crackle and the intercom lit up. It was announced that the community center was ready for everyone, so we headed out. The place was considerably busier than it had ever been. Mom was right, though. Music played in the room and there was food and coffee set out. Newcomers milled about, but I noticed the other residents hanging out as well. Everyone seemed to be in pretty good spirits despite the underlying obligation. Several departments had stations where you could sign up for a career. The 4 I had investigated were no different. Everything was really loud and the noise echoed off the walls. I wasn't quite ready to sign up for something, so I looked around to see if I could find someone to talk to. Let's give Micah a shot, because I've talked to Jude actually a lot so far, and I've only talked to Micah a little bit. Micah was sipping coffee and looking over the refreshment table with a very serious expression on his face. Hey, Micah. Good afternoon, Ashlyn. Is the coffee good? It's sufficient, as always. I like to add lots of sugar to mine. How about you? Let's say with some sugar and cream. I don't want to be, like, this is my actual thing, but, like, Ashlyn is different. Some sugar and cream. I like to cut the bitterness just a bit. I like my coffee with some sugar and cream. I grabbed a cup to show him how I liked it, then took a sip. How are you enjoying the festival? It's okay, I guess. It's not like we had anything on it like it on the surface. The concept is nice, but I would prefer to be home reading. I don't get a lot of free time. How do you normally like to spend it when you do? Oh, in various ways. I stay home and read. Sometimes I go to the library and read. Sometimes I sit in Icarus and read. And that's it. What else would I do? Was there something you had in mind? Like, honestly, she's only been reading and at the gym, so I don't really get a sense of what her thing is. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could hang out sometime? Play a board game or something? I'll have to think it over. I do get bored sometimes. I would probably find your company enjoyable. He looked down at his feet and then back up at me. I have been told that I'm not very good company, though. Try to find out more. Oh, no, it's nothing. I wanted to ask more, but he didn't look like he wanted to answer any questions. Micah smiled softly and began to ask me a series of inane questions that went along with typical small talk. It was enjoyable, though. I liked listening to the elegant way he spoke. I looked over at the sign-up sheets. Time to pick something and get it over with. Ooh, I don't know. I'm still, like, stuck between agriculture and medicine, maybe. I don't want to do security. Community affairs seems like it's too much drama. Like, Judas seemed like more of a fun person. I know, like, that part of it is to, like, with Micah is to just be with this, open up this, like, nerd. And, like, thinking about the way that Ashlyn has been characterized so far, it's, like, community affairs seems like the thing that is not for her at all. That would be something you go to try to discover what weird things your mom is plotting. Medicine is stressful, but you have somebody there who also values, like, time alone, so that's something that works with her. Security is, like, you maybe counteract your stress by, like, getting authority, which is probably not the healthiest way to do it. And agriculture just seems like it would be normally chill with the chill guy. Like, I don't know. Let's go with agriculture. I signed for agriculture. I'm meaning to brush up on my botany. Choice made. Now, I wanted to find Mom. I should let her know. I was also curious about what she had signed up for. Finally, I saw her. Of all places, she stood beside the mayor. I decided to wait to approach. I didn't have the energy for Mayor Davidson. He required too much mental effort for me, and I already felt pretty drained. Unfortunately, Mom saw me and they both approached. Why was the mayor coming too?
Did you sign up for something?
Yeah, agriculture. The mayor nodded his head in approval. I'm sure you'll do well in that department. What about you, Mom? I honestly had no idea. She hadn't done anything but hint about it.
I'm going to work for the mayor.
What? As my personal assistant, it's past time I had one. With our growing population, I could use another hand to help with the management aspects. I looked between them, not sure what to say. I didn't realize that was a career option. It wasn't. I offered it to Camilla personally.
The more we got to talking, the more I seemed to be a perfect fit for it. And I just love that I'll be personally helping the community like this.
She was beaming, so I smiled back at her. The mayor stood confidently, a friendly smile on his face. His stupid face. No, that's not fair. Mom was thrilled, and perhaps the mayor wanted someone to chip her around to bring him drinks and pens or something. This was fine. Totally fine. That sounds really cool, Mom. Okay, I don't really get exactly what her problem is with it. I feel like we don't know enough about the mayor to really say whether this is a good or bad thing. I think it is sus that he decided to make up assistant to give her, because I feel like that's just a thing that is not, like, there's a system to this. You should hire from the public to prevent conflicts of interest, and this looks like it's going to be rife with conflicts of interest. I don't know. I glanced around the room at this new community that I was now a part of. Almost everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. It seemed as if all the newcomers had signed up for positions. There was no need for me to stick around, even though the celebration didn't seem to be winding down anytime soon. I could try and stay and socialize or go relax at home. I think we're gonna go back home, because Ashlyn's already pretty stressed. I was tired and wanted to go home. The sooner the better. I'd never been around so many people so often on the surface. It was overwhelming, but Mom seemed completely comfortable with the change. It made me wonder if something was wrong with me. She was fitting in so well, and I felt so out of place. Like, I mean, if she grew up in a society, she would probably be more used to it. Like, if the apocalypse or whatever happened was more recent and it'd been all you know, that makes sense. I made excuses to Mom and the mayor and left. I needed some peace and quiet. I crawled into bed and went to sleep. Okay, so I didn't... Oh, my standing went down? What did I do? Yeah, I didn't get anywhere with Micah, which is good, because I ended up picking... like, deciding that I was going to go for Jude. Okay, my stress is gone. But that's good, because it kind of felt like it was going up. The morning went by slowly. I got dressed, ate, and then just sat around for a while. My mind was reeling from everything that happened in the past few days. Today was my last day before I started working at my new job. I considered one of my mom's romance novels for a moment, but then the crackle of the intercom made me jump. Good afternoon, everyone. We are now hosting several games in the community center. Board games, card games, you name it. Non-essential personnel are free to participate, as are all residents who are not otherwise preoccupied. With a jarring snap, the speaker shut off and I was left with a choice. Read Sexy Man 5, or check out what was going on in the community center. Yeah, we're gonna go to the community center. You've had your nap. There's bound to be something interesting to do. Anything was better than just sitting in the small room all day. I was starting to look forward to my new job. At least it would be something to do. The hallways weren't too busy. Maybe a lot of people had decided to stay in their rooms. Or maybe they were at the community center? When I walked to the community center, I didn't see too many people. I thought it would be packed, but it wasn't. The few people who were standing in small groups. There were a dozen or so tables set out with things to pass the time. Snacks had been provided where they typically offered coffee. Mom was sitting at a small table, playing some type of card game. I knew she would be here. There were a few people in the corner shouting and laughing. They appeared to be arm wrestling. Another table had some odd-looking board games I'd never seen before. Then there were charades. I could see a small cluster of people miming and laughing about something. I felt more interested in checking out the noisier areas so I could just quietly listen. They probably wouldn't know, so I wanted to sneak away either. Charades, I guess. I headed over to the group of people who were miming and laughing. Iris saw me walking closer and grabbed me.
Don't ever think about it. This one's mine.
Oh, sugar, y'all, my team is all. Wow, like the crop top and shit. Look at her, full jersey. She smiled at me and encouraged me to sit beside her. Her grip wasn't painful, but was insistent.
This here is Ashlyn. Ashlyn, say hi.
I waved awkwardly. The group settled as another pair of people picked a card and began to act things out. I couldn't concentrate because Iris was sitting so close, holding my hand very tightly.
See that man? That horrible man. That one who's got a black heart so dark you can tell by looking at him.
She hissed into my ear. I nodded, but I had no idea what she was talking about.
That's my ex, and him and his harlot are winning. You gotta help me beat him.
Just nod. Or I nodded so she would let me go, but I had no idea what she was talking about. Was it even possible to win at charades? And if that really was her ex and she hated him that much, then why were they playing the same game? Several others took their turns. Everyone was laughing in good fun. Only my partner, Iris, seemed intensely sound in this game as if it were war. When it was our turn, she handed me a bowl of cards.
Pick out a good one. I got a good feeling about this.
I nodded, picked one, and read it silently to myself. Lizard. Lovely. I flicked my tongue and tried to wiggle my arms like a lizard. I felt like a fool. Iris shouted out the answer with curiosity. Everyone fell silent and I stood up straight again. Honestly, I was relieved. That's right. I smiled. I couldn't help myself. Iris was practically glowing with satisfaction. I sat down and glanced around the others.
Ashlyn and me are quite close, you see. I'm surprised it took me so long to give an answer.
I just shrugged at everyone who gave me questioning looks. Iris was... well, she was interesting. She spoke sweetly and laughed easily, but there was an edge to her eyes. After some time had passed, I decided to call it a night. I had to work in the morning. It was an odd feeling. Mom had returned late and happily updated me on all the gossip she had heard today. I listened to her go on and on until I finally fell asleep. Alright. Fortunately, Iris isn't one of the people here. I just want to see what kind of friends I can make. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. I walked into the greenhouse, feeling only a little overwhelmed. I didn't know what they were expecting from me. The music was loud and clearly something Jude had picked out. I walked through the greenery and rows of movable shelves. Hey! Oh, hi, boss. Did that sound too forced? Don't call me boss. We've met, remember? At the library? Oh, right. I knew that, but I hadn't known how to address him now. You're the new hire, right? Relax, you'll stress the plants out. I smiled and tried not to show how awkward I felt. So, what am I supposed to do? Oh, where should I begin? Now he was the one who looked at me confused. Hey, Brian, I got it. Jude, good timing. Can you show her what to do? Yeah, finish the inventory forms in your desk. The mayor will lose his mind if you're late again. Right, I'll get that done. Who's the boss around here? He smiled at me and walked away. Jude rolled his eyes when Brian's back was turned. He gets distracted, but he's alright. Just come to me if you ever need help with anything. Here, change it to this and we'll get started. He handed me a jumpsuit and pointed to where I could go change. I got dressed quickly and went back out to meet Jude. okay. You'll get used to it. It's not itchy or anything, is it? No, it's great. The outfit was fine. I'm just nervous about my first day. Come on, I'll show you what you need to do. Why aren't you wearing a jumpsuit, man? Jude led me to a slightly quieter corner of the greenhouse, but paused and turned to ask me a question. I need to test your knowledge about plants. What needs the most water to thrive? Ooh. It's not this. This is like a fucking succulent of some kind. Sweet woodruff verbena. I just know that this can be in tea, maybe? This one? Jude nodded in approval and moved on to begin outlining what I would be doing now. There were forms to fill out, water tanks to monitor. It was a lot of checking and rechecking to make sure everything was running as smoothly as it should. After a few hours, I got into the flow of things and even decided to embrace the loud music that drowned out the thumping from the maintenance area. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Icarus. Okay, so this is make friends with Sam. This is make friends with Tabby. This is make friends with Trevor. Sam is cool. I don't want to put all of my... Well, I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. It's a visual novel. You gotta put all your eggs in one basket. As I walked in, I heard a loud and familiar laugh. Ooh, I looked over and saw Iris with one hand on Vince's arm, the other on her hip. Vince seemed nervous and I was glancing around the room.
Darling, I just feel so much safer that you're the one in charge of protecting us.
Yeah, that's my job.
Why don't you let me buy you a drink,
I'm working, Iris. I can't.
Oh, come on. The boss don't have to know.
She winked at him. I'm gonna leave them alone. She's scary. I shrugged and decided to mind my own business. I found an empty booth and sat down. I waited for Sam to take my drink and finally saw Vince peel away from Iris out of the corner of my eye. She appeared to be pouting about it and slumped into a seat near me. I tried to be invisible, but it didn't work.
Oh, shoot. All the good men in this place ain't got a lick of sense.
I tried to smile, shrug, and get up to walk away.
Well, come on, hon. Don't just stand there. Let me buy you a drink.
Me?
Yes, you. Am I looking at anyone else, sugar?
Oh, thanks, but I have to go. Sam hadn't taken my order, so now is a good time to leave. Wow. I would have wanted to talk to her. Okay, hold on. Is there a way to, like... Because I feel like this isn't that bad. Save load. There's sometimes a way to go back. Oh, I haven't saved almost at all. Roll backside. Disable. Left? I don't know. Okay, let's save in an empty slot, but we'll return. Okay, so let's interrupt and see what happens. Vince, a guy in a uniform from outside is looking for you.
Oh, come on now. Aren't you ever free, honey?
Iris pouted and pushed at Vince's arm. Sorry, Iris, another time. He made a hasty exit, shooting me a wordless thanks. Iris pouted and turned away to head back towards the bar. As she walked away, I heard her swear. Aw.
Oh, shoot. All the good men in this place ain't got a lick of sense.
I tried to smile and approached her. There we go. I'm sure there is someone here who would just adore your company.
Oh, aren't you just as sweet as can be? Let me buy you a drink.
Me?
Yes, you. Am I looking at anyone else right now, sugar?
Oh, thanks. She rested her chin in her hand and sighed dramatically.
You got yourself someone special?
Not really.
You're young. You'll find someone soon. I just know it.
It's not something I've really thought about.
Life's too short to spend it alone, honey. Go out and find you some loving to make the night something to look forward to.
I nodded. I wasn't sure how to respond. Her words were getting a bit slurred as she drank and her mood was falling. Why don't I walk you home, Iris?
You baby doll. Go on and don't worry about me. I'll find my way home.
She scrunched up her nose and then discreetly motioned with her eyes towards a man who had just stepped up to the bar. I nodded and said a farewell and left. Okay, I did want to be, like, nice to Iris, so I'm glad. Let's save this as my primary now. I'm glad I fucking did that so that I could remember to save. Man. It's getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay. Still only have anything with Eva. Haven't really done anything with Jude. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. I headed into work. Brian was sitting in his office napping while Jude was busy fixing something. I walked the rounds and refilled some water tanks. Then I went through and marked everything that needed to be pruned or harvested, even though I still wasn't allowed to take part in that. I would need to prove I wasn't a thief first, I guess. All in all, it was a pretty standard day. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Okay. Oh, so we're in that visual novel thing where you can do like 2 things a day. What is this? Oh, okay. Week 2, day 2. Why don't we just leave that like that? Just like the calendar thing doesn't tell us anything. Let's go to the library. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the library today. There are a few things I could do. See what Trevor was up to. Brian was here again. He was leaning heavily against the counter and smiling at Trevor. As far as I could tell, Brian was the only person who held any affection for the Trun librarian. He spoke to me without even looking over. Hey, Ashlyn. I'm off work in case you wanted to know. I'm just here to get a book. Go on then. Trevor was sorting through some papers and appeared to be willfully ignoring Brian. He had no problem telling anyone off, so I assumed if Brian really bothered him, he would say something. Oh. I rolled my eyes at Trevor and retreated into the shelves. I made a show of heading towards the back of the library, but then I quietly looped around. Why was Brian always hanging around here? He's hitting on Trevor, obviously. When I got close enough to overhear them, I stood as quietly as possible. It's getting late. Like, I know, right? Hey, White. I'm actually really busy today, so you should just go home already. There was a heavy quiet between them. I'll stop by tomorrow, okay? You never borrow any books. Why do you even come here? I think you know why, but I suppose you can try to make it more obvious. I covered my eyes so I couldn't see them, but it seemed like things were becoming just a bit more intimate. I suppose I had my answer, though I didn't understand why Brian was so smitten when Trevor seemed nothing but annoyed. Sometimes that's cute. Especially, like, I think people who have, like, really blunt things, I think other people see it as a challenge to try to get something new out of them. That's like the kind of like I can fix him vibe, but in this one it doesn't really fix him, but like a maybe he'll be special for me kind of thing, which might or might not be a good thing, because sometimes people like that also need somebody to try to pry them out of their like little niche to get them out into the world. But sometimes it's just like, dude, I know what I'm about, leave me alone. It's socializing is hard. I told you, just go. I'm busy. Alright, but if you really want me to. I do. I could hear Brian leaving and I ducked back through the shelves so I could find a book. Trevor would melt me with his death glare if he saw that I had been eavesdropping. Something was going on between them, and whatever it was seemed complicated. I peeked out and saw that Trevor looked extra evil, so I left without bothering to check out a book. Dang. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay. Standing is 3 now. That's good. Got up and headed out to grab coffee. It was just another day in the greenhouse. I refilled water tanks, took notes and inventory. Same old, same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Let's try going to the gym. Oh, Micah's here. I walked in and saw Micah pacing around the walking track. He was walking fairly slowly and seemed deep in thought. See what he's up to. I fell into step beside him and he noticed immediately. Ashlyn. Not going to get a great workout walking the track this slowly. You're right, of course. He picked up the pace, and I continued to walk with him. I don't see you here often. I usually come at odd hours. Work keeps me busy. Makes sense. I used to work out all the time. Really? Micah sighed and smiled wistfully. Yeah, mostly weightlifting, when I was much younger. So, that was a long time ago. Now I'm content to maintain a comfortable fitness regimen. It wasn't like Micah to cut me off like that. He seemed to want to drop the subject. I like looking into the greenhouse while I walk. Of course, that is probably why there are all these windows. The greenhouse is great. I've never seen so much, well, green. Micah nodded. Such things are almost extinct on the surface. Can you imagine hundreds of years ago there was foliage like that everywhere? Green as far as you could see? Hard to imagine. Unfortunately. We fell into a silence, but it didn't last long. As soon as we got to an exit, Micah said farewell and left. No. It was getting late and I was tired. Okay. Nothing's really happening. We're kind of learning like small things here and there. Coffee before work. When I walked into work, Jude approached me immediately. Have you seen Brian? No? Shouldn't he be here already? Jude scoffed and then covered his face. A rubber band was tightly woven through his fingers. Fucking hell. He does this sometimes. I've got to track him down to try to cover his absence. Any idea where he could have gone? Jude moved his hands down to look at me. Library, probably. Honestly, though, it might just be easier to do his work. I end up doing it half the time anyway. Really? That's awful. Jude shrugged. He started to snap at the rubber band around his wrist with his fingers. Would you mind helping me out? We'll have to stay late, but I'll owe you. Help Jude. Okay, I'll stay late with you. Jude smiled and began to outline everything we needed to do, in addition to what Brian had left for us to do. We got started, and the time didn't pass too badly. Jude played his music, and when we worked close, we would chat. He told me stories about what it had been like to work here. Brian has always been pretty useless, but he's been here the longest. The mayor seems to like him for some reason. It's complicated, but I don't want to be in charge officially anyway. If something goes wrong, the mayor storms in here and spends like an hour yelling at Brian in the office. Does it happen often? Jude shrugged. No, at least not since I got here. I always had to turn my music off when he came, so I tried to prevent his visits as often as I could. Ooh. Why is the mayor like yelling at people like that? How? How can you stand working under him? He's not so bad. I'd rather work for him than a Sandman warlord on the work surface. Yeah. He scowled and his movements got jerky. Like I said, I don't want to be the one in charge anyway. Were you the one on the surface when it was really bad? When the Sandmen were dealing with that upstart gang and fighting all the time? Yeah. He got quiet and his arms fell to his sides. He frowned. That was rough. It's always rough out there. It's good that they both know what it's like, you know? It would be tough with Gloria because she has like no idea, which is not impossible, but it's like, it'll be a little stressful in getting to know somebody. He shrugged and didn't say anything else. I spoke up to break the silence. My dad died dealing with him. I was too young to remember though. Mom lived. Jude nodded slowly. My dad was one of them, but he kept me and my mom a secret. When they found out, they were pissed. I guess they're both gone now. I'm sorry. It was okay. I've got Sam, and I'm alive. That's more than a lot of other people can say. I'm also living in Camden. This place is a fucking paradise compared to the surface. I nodded. It wasn't like I could argue with that. Jude changed the subject and we continued to work. It got late, but we finally managed to get everything down. I sat with Jude and he snapped his rubber band between his fingers. Thanks, Ashlyn. It means a lot that you stayed to help. No problem, Jude. Work was finally over, so I went home. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay, nice. We've got some stuff with Jude. Little stressed out, but not too much. I got up and headed to grab a coffee. Just another day in the greenhouse. Clean out water filters that had gotten clogged with debris and put anything usable into the composts. Same old, same old. I walked in, but Mom stopped me. Oh, look at her new uniform.
There you are. I've been waiting for you. All of the departments are having a party at the bar to celebrate the first week of work. Come on, get ready.
What, really? I sort of remembered someone talking about it, but I hadn't paid attention.
Yeah, come on, let's go. It'll be fun.
I don't know. Is it mandatory? I just got home.
Come on, Ashlyn. Let's go celebrate. Hurry up and get changed.
She took my hands and squeezed them. Okay. We got ready and headed out to the party. I'd rather stay in my bed, but Mom really wanted to go. Icarus was really busy. The music bounced off the walls and there were people everywhere I looked. I felt a hand on my shoulder and looked to see Mom giving it a squeeze. She pointed off somewhere and then left. I assumed she saw someone she wanted to talk to. I was on my own now, and the warm, stagnant air was already starting to make me feel claustrophobic. A drink. Or maybe I could find a quiet corner somewhere. I just need to do something other than standing here awkwardly. We'll get a drink at the bar and maybe talk to Sam, I don't know. Approached the bar and saw that Sam was very busy, but also seemed to be having a blast. Jude sat near her, and they were having some kind of humorous conversation. Ashlyn, I feel like I just saw you. You seem to be in a good mood.
That's because he has just had enough to drink to be That's because he has had just enough to drink to be a pain in the ass.
Jude laughed and turned away from Sam to look at me. How are you doing, Ashlyn? You're in Camden now, the wonderful sanctuary of the hell that is this world. He opened his arms wide and then dropped them. You are drunk. And you should be. Let me buy you a drink. What do you have? I guess, hard water. You don't have to buy it though, I can do that. Nonsense. Alright. Sam began to make my drink while Jude pulled a small, round, mechanical thing out of his pocket. You know what this is? No idea. Me either, but look. He held it out to me and pushed a button. The screen lit up a little with tiny dark dots that moved around. It beeped, and though the sound was distorted, it sounded like music. Huh. Isn't it cool? I wonder what people use these tiny things for. He looked back down at it and pushed another button. It caused the music to squeak out in a different tone. That's really cool. Right? I just wish I knew more about it. I feel like I don't know what they're talking about. It's just a weird machine that makes music. It could be like a music box, or it could be like, I don't know, just, there's so many music making things that humans have made in this world. I nodded and took my drink as Sam held it out to me. Sam left, busy with another customer. I looked down at my drink and tried to think of something else to say. Jude seemed like a nice guy, but at the moment he was too drunk to the point of silliness. It was weird seeing him so open. His wrist didn't even have the rubber band that usually dangled there. He saw me looking and held his hand out for me. It's in my pocket. The skin was a bit raw in places, and there was an old welt he had probably created this morning. I sighed and touched the skin gently, then looked up at him and saw he was looking down at me. Our eyes met, and anything I meant to say died in my throat. His eyes moved down to my lips, and then there was a loud smack on the bar next to us. Jude, drink some water! Sam pushed a cup of water down towards Jude and swiftly left the scene without meeting my gaze. Aw. He cleared his throat, and then didn't meet my eyes. So I'm gonna help Sam and wash some dishes. He finally looked at me with a small smile. I'll see you at work. The night wore on, and it was time to go. People were leaving, the music was turned down. Sam looked ready to start physically kicking people out of the bar. Mom joined back up with me, and we walked home. It was getting late, and I was tired. Time for bed. Alright, not too much more improvement. I feel like if I didn't have one heart on Jude already, I would have it after that. I felt like hell. Shit. Mom had already left. She must have decided to let me sleep in. My head was pounding. I rolled out of bed and stumbled to the kitchen sink for some water. The chill felt nice on my forehead. It had been a long time since I'd felt this way. I glanced around the room and tried to find something to provide relief. I could just go to the clinic. Maybe they had something for the pain. Or I could just go back to bed. I'm always inclined to, like, get into business a bit more just because I don't know anything about this world. So I guess we'll go to the clinic. Now that I have easy access to the clinic and medicine, I should take advantage of it. It was still early enough that the hallways were deserted. It was quiet, which was nice considering my headache. I walked into the clinic. It was dark, and for a moment I thought it was empty. Then I heard someone clear their throat and approach. The clinic is not open yet. I saw him, but he wasn't looking at me, just down a stack of papers. Oh, sorry. Micah stopped and looked up. Ashlyn, I did not realize it was you. I've got a pounding headache, so I was hoping you'd have something for it. Of course, come with me. He led me towards the medical supply closet and opened it. He pulled out a jar and handed me 2 pills. Fortunately for us, Camden has its own lab. Less to trade for, I assume. Oh, yes. Thank you. These will be great. Micah led me towards the exit, and we said our goodbyes. I was already starting to feel a lot better. There wasn't any work to do today, so maybe we could try to see someone. And we're gonna go see Jude, obviously. I walked out into the hallway and ran into Jude. I feel like in real life, I'd be like, I'm being too annoying. Like, I'd be self-conscious about it, but like in a game, it's like, whatever. What do you want me to do? Do you fully put like a meter next to like affections? Oh, hey. Hi. So, see ya. Damn. Wait, I'm bored. What are you doing? Maybe I can tag along? Or not? No, it's just... Sure, come on. I followed him as he walked towards the library. You like to read? Not especially, but I'm looking for something specific. What's that? I'm trying to identify this strange thing that I have. You remember, I showed you the other night? Oh yeah! He was talking about that little round beepy thing. Where'd you get that anyway? When the scouts go out to scavenge from the ruins, they bring back all kinds of junk. I pick through and grab anything interesting. They let you do that? No. So don't tell anyone. Oh, okay. I followed him through the shelves, and he began to poke through the ones with technical information. He picked up a book and paged through it. It still works, right? It seemed to work, anyway. Sort of? I don't know. I can't tell what it's supposed to do, and if it's doing it. It has a screen and lots of buttons. Jude paused and put the book away, his shoulders slumping forward somewhat. Even then, the battery I put in it won't last much longer. Sounds interesting. He looked at me for a moment. Ashlyn, want to see something really cool? Yeah, obviously. He gave me a small smile and tugged my arm to lead me out of the library. He surprised me by leading me to the greenhouse. He took me back to his office type area. Look. I looked down at it and then back at him. Open it. It's a music box. Okay, now that's a music box. So whatever he has clearly isn't it. I carefully lifted the lid and heard a soft warp chirping. A small coil inside the box began to move. Wow, cool. I don't think I've seen anything quite like it. Really? I find them a lot, but they hardly ever work. I shook my head and closed the lid. What a strange song was playing. Perhaps it had been warped by heat. I'm starting to think you're some kind of criminal. He shrugged. I guess you can think that if you want. I'm only teasing. I know. He looked down at some oily pieces of metal on his desk and began to sort them. I opened my mouth to speak and break the awkwardness, but he beat me to it. He began to tell me about all the various components he'd collected and what they did. After some time, I headed back home. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay. Not much improvement anywhere. When I woke up, I saw that Mom was sitting at the table happily sewing something. Since when do you sew? I know how to sew. I know that, but you hate to do it. Yet here you are, humming away. Oh, hush! What are you sewing, anyway? I'm patching up an old scarf. An old scarf? Which one? It's one of Rick's. He was thinking about donating it to the fabric stores, but I told him I could patch it up for him. Is that part of your job as his assistant? Oh, he told me not to bother, but I insisted. She was smiling. I could tell she was now lost cause. I sighed. There was no stopping it now. The intercom lit up and the static-filled voice began an announcement. Camden community meeting, everyone. Please make your way to the community center as soon as possible. I looked at Mom and she smiled. Are these going to be a weekly thing? I believe so. Come on, I've got to get there early and make sure everything is ready for Rick. Stay pedestrian going, leave now with Mom. Yeah, let's go. Alright, let me get my stuff together. I got ready quickly while Mom urged me on. Then we rushed to the community center. Mom was by the mayor, who had his freshly darned scarf draped around his throat. He was smiling at Mom while preparing to step out on the stage. The room was filled with people, and I grabbed a cup of coffee and sat near the back. Good afternoon, everyone. It always brings me so much joy to see all of your faces on a day like this. First, let me update everyone on last week's news. The Career Festival was a success. All of our new residents have joined a career and should be fitting in nicely. Resource production is steady as usual, and other than some stormy weather on the horizon, everything appears peaceful on the surface. He began to drone on and on, talking about all kinds of things I knew nothing about, announcements and upcoming events that I could just read about on the bulletin board. I rubbed the bridge of my nose and sipped my coffee. Hopefully this meeting would be over soon. Eventually he got off the stage and went straight to my mother. I perked up and watched him pat his scarf and say something to her with a smile. Who's that? I don't know, do you think our eligible mayor has finally decided to settle down? They giggled like girls several years younger than them. It looks like she's just a secretary or whatever. In all the years we lived here, have you ever even heard the smallest rumor about him and a special someone? I stood up and left. I couldn't stomach to hear anymore. I know it's your mom, but you're being weird about it. Mom can meet me at home later. For now I need to go home. I just need to get out of that crazy cluster of people. I walked back and strongly considered just laying in bed, but then I ended up waiting for her to come home. I had some time to do something before the day was over. Okay, I'll just go, like, in order. I think the last one I went to was the gym, so I'll try Icarus again. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in Icarus today. There were a few things I could do. Hang out with Sam. Sam looked unusually busy today. I walked in close enough for her to nod at me and then start to complain. I'm so damn behind. The mayor needs to give me an assistant or something. Fuck. Yeah, running this place alone must be hard. Yeah, but I'm just bitching. This ain't nothing compared to what I was running on the surface. At least here I don't have to serve the occasional Sandman or Warlord. I shuddered. That must have been awful. I can help you clean this up if you'd like. Sam glanced at me, eyebrow raised. Then she pointed towards a sink of dirty dishes. I'm not about to stop you. Help yourself. I'm trying to give her like a Natasha Lyonne voice. I ran the water and started to wash the dishes. It was mostly glasses and pitchers, so it was easy. There was just a lot of it. As time crawled on, patrons had begun to leave. It grew quieter and quieter, and then it was only me and Sam. Icarus gets pretty busy at night. It's crazier on the weekends. Makes sense. Crowds are nowhere near as bad as my old place. It didn't even have a name, just the bar. Really? I was set up in a small outpost town between the cities, at least until the Sandmen came and trashed the place. A warlord? Yeah, they fucked everything. She gritted her teeth and began to wipe down the counter fiercely. I've just realized that she's the only one that's sworn so far. People were killed. She slammed her fist on the table and then buried her face in her hands. Thanks for the chat. You can go now. Her voice was a whisper. Sam, or... Just go! I backed away and left. She looked ready to throw stuff at me. It must have brought up some bad memories. Oh no. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay. Standing's pretty good. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. I didn't even really choose anything. It just kind of happened. I don't know. Just another day in the greenhouse. I made sure Brian was doing what he's supposed to and helped Jude get everything else done. Same old, same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. We're gonna go to the library now. The library was empty today, and as I approached the counter, I didn't even see Trevor. It was quiet, but the lights were on and nothing had been locked up. I glanced around at the shelves. Drama, romance, fantasy, comedy, horror. What could this person need? I feel like she's not drama. Romance you can get from her mom. Fantasy maybe. Comedy? I don't know. fantasy. I really wanted to borrow The Rise of the Hawks. Leave a note. After I found The Rise of the Hawks to borrow, I retrieved my card from the box and made a note of the book I was borrowing. No reason to make the grumpy librarian grumpier. Otherwise, I had nothing to do here. I glanced around one more time, but I was still alone. I left. Weird. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. I walked into the greenhouse. I had only taken a few steps in work when I caught Brian sneaking in through a back door. He saw me, shushed me, and then quietly went into his office. I sighed. As far as I knew, Jude was fully aware of Brian's laziness, so I didn't know why he bothered to hide it. I shrugged it off and went on with my usual tasks. Work was over and it's time to kill Jim. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the gym today. There were a few things I could do. Hang out with Tabby. I saw Tabby sitting alone. She was leaning against the wall with her eyes closed. Maybe she was taking a nap. As I approached Tabby, her eyes opened and she looked over at me. What? This is a strange place to take a nap. She shrugged her shoulders and crossed her arms. Do you hang out here a lot?
I guess.
I like to come here and work out.
You came here from the surface, right?
It dawned on me that Tabby was probably born here. Yeah. Does sand still shake out of my hair? I ran a hand through my hair and made a show of looking for sand. A little bit might actually have come out. Tabby smiled. You don't shower, dude? Come on.
No. What's it like up there? My dad won't tell me.
He won't tell you? She sighed and rolled her eyes.
He says it doesn't matter because I'll never go there. Then people like you come here and I don't know why people can't go back up there? Unless they're bad?
I blinked as she kept attempting to rationalize it.
Were you bad but then good so they let you come back?
I was born up there.
Were your parents bad?
No, at least I don't think so. Most people come from the surface. Cities like these are hard to come by.
Really?
Yeah. She nodded. I wasn't sure what it would be like to grow up down here. Truly, I had no idea what it was like on the surface. I couldn't help but wonder what that was like.
Okay, you didn't look like you had been exiled for something.
I hope I never get exiled. Tabby smiled at me shyly.
I'll tell my dad not to exile you, no matter what. If you play ball with me.
Ball?
Yeah, it's a game. I'll show you how to play.
She stood up and grabbed a small, heavy ball. She then proceeded to teach me a weird set of rules involving catching and throwing the ball. I did not understand, but that only seemed to amuse her. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay. Work. Just another day in the greenhouse. Carefully organized the reports that Brian had left scattered on his desk and checked the water tank levels. Same old, same old. Alright. Work was over, had some time to kill. We just went to the gym. Let's go to Icarus. When I walked in, I didn't see Sam anywhere. I did see a kid reaching behind the bar to grab a bottle of vodka. Our eyes met and he went pale. Tell him to drop it and leave. Ask him why he's trying to steal alcohol. What are you doing? The kid didn't answer. He ran from the bar, leaving the bottle behind. What the hell is that about? The kid was going after the bottle of vodka. I pointed to where the kid had been reaching. Sam pinched the bridge of her nose. Damn it, I'm gonna have to go yell at his father again. Fucking hell. You know where he is? Yeah, you'd think that it would be a deterrent, but guess not. Why is he trying to steal vodka? No fucking clue. You want a drink or what? Yeah, hard water, please. She nodded and resumed her post behind the bar. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Alright. I feel like I'm not really going anywhere. The world rattled and roared. A siren began to blare through the intercom system and I could hear it echo throughout all the other homes. A level 5 dust storm had hit the surface. Please stay where you are until further notice. A level 5? Mom was sitting up, her arms wrapped around herself. The ground trembled. I could hear the water moving in the pipes due to air pressure changes. A level 5? That meant massive tornadoes of dust and fire. Everything in this path would get destroyed within miles. Mom was safe. I was safe. We were underground, but what about... Jude. Mom got out of bed and sat at the table, clasping her hands together tightly and rocking back and forth slightly. I went to her side and tried to think. What should we do? Stay where you are. The annoying alarm was right. The safest thing would be to stay underground. Maybe we should try going into the community center. I thought we were supposed to stay here. Yes, but the community center is always open, especially in times like this. It's a good place to go to get information. Her eyes seemed distant, but it made sense. There was another tremor. Okay. Maybe the community center would be better than here? We stepped out into the hallway and Mom was right. A few people were heading that way. There was a small crowd here and water had been set out. People sat together and seemed to be seeking comfort and company. When I glanced around, I saw Jude and Gloria. Gloria was handing out water and blankets. Jude was sitting on the floor by himself. Maybe I should check on one of them. Mom put a hand on my shoulder. I'm gonna help hand out things, okay? All right. Okay, I'm going to... Let's quick save. I want to see what talking to Gloria... Or actually, no. We'll... normal save. We're gonna return. Talk to Gloria. Gloria? She handed me a cup of water. I looked down at it. How are you doing, Ashlyn? I mean... She leaned in and spoke softly. This will sound awful, but I wish I could see it. Her eyes were brighter than usual. See what? The storm! I've never seen one. I tried to smile. Poor Gloria had never been on the surface. She wouldn't understand the death and destruction that came along with the storms. I can try to describe what it looks like if you want me to. Yeah, that would be great. She handed out a cup of water and blanket to someone with a gentle smile. Once we were alone, I began to describe some of the storms as well as I could. Harsh winds that roared loudly and whipped up the sand into a frenzy. I suppose it would be an intriguing sight if it wasn't so dangerous. There was a loud roar above us, and the room shook slightly. Everyone paused and being so quiet you could hear the sand move. Then someone entered the room, their face flushed as they shouted to kill the silence. They kept the doors closed! Really? Even now? They won't let anyone in! There was a small uproar building among everyone in the room. Then there was another tremor. Everyone fell silent again, but this time it was much heavier. I glanced at Jude, but his eyes were closed and he was frowning. I looked towards Gloria and her lips were parted. She stared up towards the noise, her brow scrunched with curiosity. The distant roar continued and I just felt cold. My former neighbors, the grouchy old man who lived in the old motorhome in the center of town, the kids, orphans who'd stayed in the repurposed church with a young couple who were too sweet for their own good. That old lady who never seemed to know where she was but was pleased to be there anyway. The woman who stole my CD player and then denied it when I confronted her. The small group of militia who pretended to protect the town from the Sandmen. The traitors, bitter and suspicious, the broken families that had formed new ones. That guy down the way who always gave us extra food when he had it. I could see their faces flashing through my memories. The storm will have knocked out most of the town. Without power, a lot of these people would be dead by midday. They could try to find shelter. Once the storm passed, they need to find somewhere to wait out the hottest hour of the day. Maybe they could get the power going again, or maybe someone would share a generator that still worked. If the storm hadn't wiped everything out. The room shook again. Before I knew what was happening, Mom had taken me by the hand. She led me home. I got into bed and closed my eyes. Okay, I'm gonna reload, because I don't feel like talking to Gloria was really anything. Talk to Jude. Jude, you're here? Jude looked up at me and nodded. I'm so glad. You are? I was worried about you. I sat beside him and he leaned his head on my shoulder. I really want a cigarette. Are you drunk? A little. I'm trying to sober up. I wanted to sleep through the storm, but I just couldn't. Even alcohol didn't help. Where's Sam? She locked herself in the storage room at Icarus. Storms bring up a lot of bad memories for me and Sam. My heart sank a little. Jude moved away from me a bit and brought his knees up to his chest. He looked so tired, but I didn't know how to help him, so I just sat with him. There was a loud roar above us, and the room shook slightly. Everyone paused, and it became so quiet you can hear sand move. Someone entered the room, their face was... Okay, yeah. Hold on, wait. Oh yeah, we didn't talk to anybody after that. Return. Got in bed and closed my eyes, didn't want to think. If the doors had been opened, there would have been a flood of people here right now. They'd probably want to conserve energy and resources for Camden, but I wasn't sure if that was the right thing to do. Maybe there wasn't enough to go around? I really didn't know. All of those people were either dead or else they would be soon. Dog, I don't know. I feel like it would have been nice if they had, like, a waiting area. I don't know. Maybe the doors should have been open. All those people I knew, they could have been saved. Eventually my eyes closed and I fell asleep. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. We're just back to it. Walked to the muggy greenhouse and it was quiet. There was the hum of machinery but no loud music. I looked around and everyone seemed to be doing their jobs as if in a daze. Ashlyn, Jude couldn't make it in today. Can you pick up his slack? Brian was standing, tearing out a sack of papers in his arms. He looked tired. He didn't bother to meet my gaze and it was odd to see him so serious, even now. Without Jude, this place would be a mess, but it would be fine for me for one day. It happened to. Don't worry, I will. Alright, I will. Great, thanks. I got to work and tried to focus on anything but those ghostly noises I swore I could still hear. It was easier to forget while doing busy work, repetitive movements that didn't require a lot of thought. Eventually I managed to get through my workload and some of Jude's. Now it was time to go home. I was exhausted on so many levels. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Last thing I did... Oh yeah, no, we don't have time. Yeah, nothing's really been improving at all. There wasn't any work to do today, so maybe I could try to see somebody. Yeah, check on that guy. I sat at the table and stared down at a puzzle my mother had cluttered our space with. With everything going on, the cartoon character... What? With everything going on, the cartoon character smiling up on me just got on my nerves. Oh, okay. I couldn't take it anymore, so I just stood up and headed to the door. Maybe some fresh air would clear my head. When I reached the door, I realized that there was no way to get fresh air. My shoulders slumped, but I continued into the hallway anyway. I glanced down the halls and just started walking. I didn't really know where I was headed until I saw the greenhouse. I guess I was used to walking to work. I mean, that's where the freshest air is going to be because there's plants there. There's no reason to be here, so I started to turn around when I heard someone swear. It sounded like Jude. Jude? I glanced around a corner and saw Jude glaring at the ground. He kicked at it and met my gaze. What are you doing? I'm not sure. He stuffed something in his pockets and then wiped his hands on his pants. What are you doing? I guess I'm not sure either. We fell into an awkward silence. I get the feeling he was hiding something, but I had no idea what or why. Maybe we need to find something to do? Wanna go to Icarus? No, let's go somewhere else. Like where? He seemed to think about it for a few moments. Is your mom home? No? You wanna go to my place? Yeah, if that's okay. Sure, I guess so. I led him back to my place. He seemed extra antsy and kept glancing around the halls. I don't think we're being followed. Why would somebody be following us? I don't know, you just seem so nervous. I'm fine, really. I decided to just drop it, and when we got to my door, I unlocked it and stepped inside. Jude was being a bit strange, but I had no clue why. Suspicious. He walked in and saw the puzzle on the table. Shit, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. Really? He walked over to it and poked at one of the pieces that were about to fall off the table. My dad really liked them, but we only had two. He would put them together and then take them apart and do it all over again. I'd never heard Jude talk about his parents before, at least never like this. Do you miss them? Jude scoffed and then moved away from the table. Who doesn't have someone they miss? He shrugged and stuck his hands in his pockets, then froze. He sighed heavily and pulled out some crazy-looking leaves. Oh. I thought you said you quit. I have. Can you take these from me? Toss them, or hell, sell them on the black market for all I care. You just didn't get them from me. He shoved the dried leaves into my hands and started to snap at the rubber band against his wrist. Did you steal these? Steal is such a strong word. He smirked at me. I placed the leaves in a bag under my bed, not sure how to respond to his careless confession. Okay, this is something that I'm not sure what the tone of lecture him or it was wrong is, because like lecture him could be just like, ooh, you're bad, or this, but this seems like actually serious. I don't know. Let's lecture him. You couldn't keep doing this. What if he got caught? Jude, please, you gotta stop doing stuff like this. It's gotta stop like you're done. Okay, let's... It was wrong. I didn't like that he was so casual about stealing, but I didn't feel like it was really my place to say anything. Anyway, you want some water or something? No, I really gotta go. I'm supposed to be helping Sam in a bit. Thanks, though. If you hadn't come by, I might have messed up my drug-free streak. No problem, Jude. He nodded and walked back to the door, but paused. I took a step closer, preparing to close the door after he left, but then he turned back to me. He ruffled my hair a bit and then opened the door and left. The room was a lot quieter suddenly, so I went back to staring at the puzzle. Maybe Mom would finally come home early enough to work on it tonight. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Still everything is like the same. How long is this game? There was a town hall meeting in the community center. I glanced at Mom, who was fretting over her hair. I'm guessing the mayor wants to discuss what happened. Mom lowered her arms and deflated a little. It was so awful. I'm so glad we made it to Camden when we did. Yeah, you could have died. I turned around and appeared to study me. It was a tragedy. An awful tragedy. I can't help but focus on my appreciation that you and I are safe. She grasped her hands together and pulled them close to her chest. They trembled slightly. If you're hoping I know what Rick plans to say, I don't. I'm guessing he'll try to explain himself and justify what he did. Do you think he did the right thing? She frowned and dodged my question. I don't know. What do you think about what he did? All those people died because of him. could have sheltered everyone until the power plant was repaired. Mom frowned and pulled me into her arms, stroking my hair. My little rain cloud, things are not always so simple. It makes me happy to know you have such a big heart, though. She pulled away slightly and smiled. I was annoyed that she was talking to me like that. I'm not a child anymore. You'll always be my child. She ruffled my hair and went back to messing with hers. She didn't seem to have a solid opinion, or at least want to share it with me if she did. I knew better than to try to get it out of her. I didn't know anyone better at redirecting the conversation than her. We finished getting ready and then left to go to the community center. The room was fuller than I had ever seen it. Despite this, it was quiet. I saw the mayor at the stage speaking to someone. Mom squeezed my shoulder and moved to join him. I needed to find a seat and saw a few people I recognized. Micah, Gloria, Eva, Jude. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, we'll do the visual thing and go all in. Mayor walked toward the podium and gently tapped the mic. The speaker stuttered unpleasantly. On this sad occasion, I have gathered you all here to discuss what happened a few days ago. The room was still silent. His voice echoed against the walls. It was a horrible tragedy, and I had to make hard choices. Choices that would allow Camden, all of you, to thrive or fall. He began to outline a list of all the reasons he had kept the doors closed. Limited supplies, the dangers of the storm, potential for security threats, and he continued. Jude sighed and rubbed his knees. What's wrong? Nothing. Are you pissed about what happened? You're pissed? Yeah, he killed those people. He didn't go out there and shoot them. He didn't cause a storm. Okay, so he let them die. Placed a hand on mine, frowning at me. He did. I won't disagree with that. Are you alright? Yeah. I rubbed my face. I'm just so... I don't know. The mayor's voice picked up in volume, pulling my attention. After a moment, I could hear Jude roughly snapping the rubber band against his wrist. Now I know many of you are feeling scared and uncertain. I'll ask you all to trust me. Camden is my priority, and I wouldn't do anything to put our community in danger. There was an empty threat in the air. His words alone seemed harmless, but his tone darkened on the last sentiment. I looked at Mom, but she was busy jotting some things down. I looked around at the room, still eerily quiet. No one seemed to have anything more to say. There was an odd tension in the air that I really couldn't seem to shake. I wanted to leave, go home. When I looked around, I saw that I wasn't the only one squirming in my seat. I know that I'm here for all of you. Camden is here for you. He left the podium and was immediately surrounded by people who wanted to ask him questions. I was not one of those people, so I headed home. I had time to do something before the day was over. What was the last thing I did? I think I went to Integriso Library. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the library today. There were a few things I could do. See what Trevor was up to. I headed over to where Trevor was hiding behind a book. He didn't lower it as I approached, but he did speak. I think it was to me. Hurry up, I'm closing early today. Why? He lowered his voice and looked at me. I don't have to answer you. Alright. He let out a sigh that sounded more like a growl. I need some time to myself, okay? Fuck, why is everyone so damn nosy? Why do you want to be alone? He seemed surprised that I asked him. He blinked for a moment and then answered me. It wasn't like I was fond of anyone in that town, you know? Still, that's a harsh way to go. I just feel a bit sad for all those people. He trailed off, his frown deepening. I keep thinking about it too. I spoke softly and we shared a look of understanding. There was a quiet moment. I realized Trevor just wanted time to process things on his own, so I moved to the shelves to give him some space. I quickly picked up a book and headed back. Yeah, let's go for more fancy. I brought the final rhino up to him and sounded out for me. I thanked him, he nodded, and then he shooed me away. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Yay, little friend. Standing's still pretty good. The romance not going anywhere. I got up and headed to grab coffee before work. It was just another day in the greenhouse. I danced along to Jude's music while I mixed the compost. The stench was horrible. Same old, same old. Work was over and I had some time to kill. Gym time. I walked in and heard some loud thuds and grunting. Sam was beating the shit out of a punching bag. She wasn't wearing any gear and her hands looked like a little red. Check on her. Fuck off! I'm not in the mood. Right. I made a quick exit. As I walked out, I could hear the intensity of her punches slow down. Damn. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. I wondered, a little bit with Sam, actually. I was just about to say, like, how do you be friends with Sam? But I guess you just keep trying. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. I walked into the greenhouse and heard the comforting blast of Jude's music. Things might finally be getting back to normal. I headed to see if there were any special notes, and Jude tapped me on the shoulder. Ashlyn. I looked at him, but he was flipping through a book. What's up? Can you go through Brian's papers on his desk and find one that looks like... He stopped looking through the book and held up a page. This. Do you think you can find it? Paper like this on his desk. Got it. Thanks. He turned and started getting equipment out to test the chemical levels in the water. Another job I wasn't allowed to do yet. I tried to hold the image of the paper in my mind as I entered Brian's cluttered, dark office. I knew he wasn't here since I couldn't hear any thunderous snoring, but I was surprised the light was off. I clicked the light on and groaned. His desk was a complete disaster. Papers, flyers, packets, everywhere. On the desk, chair, floor. There were so many places to start. I needed to get this stupid report paper thing and get out of here. After uncovering a lot of junk, I finally located the paper that looked like what Jude had wanted. There was a coffee stand in the corner. I sighed. Another paper stuck to it, thanks to the old coffee. I pulled away an inventory list. It tore slightly, but I doubted Brian would notice and set it back on his desk. I had what Jude had asked for, and I couldn't spend another minute in all this clutter. I left Brian's office and gave Jude what he asked for. Then went back to my usual duties. Jude seemed unusually busy this morning. Either there's a lot to do or he was trying to keep busy. Probably that. Time to kill, Icarus. Nothing particularly interesting going on in Icarus today. There are a few things I could do. Hang out with Sam. As soon as I walked in, I was hit with the shouting of two people arguing in the corner. Sam glanced up at me and shrugged. Two men I didn't recognize were yelling and shoving each other. They didn't seem drunk, so I wasn't sure what to do. Shouldn't you call someone? I will if I need to. I watched the men for a moment, but I wasn't sure I could relax with them fighting like that. Assume that Sam has it handled. I sat down at the bar and Sam handed me a hard water. Despite her casual attitude, I could see her watching the guys out of the corner of her eye. There was a shout and one of the men swung at the other. Then the sounds of glass breaking. I looked back to Sam, who had smashed the bottle and began to head for them, shouting. She wielded the broken bottle like a baton. That's hardcore. That's not that's not professional in any way, but it's effective. What followed was quite the scene. The men eventually backed down, unable to fight against Sam's makeshift weapon. Watching them cower away from the short, Sam was very amusing. With that finally handled, I tried to relax at the bar with Sam until I was ready to call it a night. I wonder. Let's save this here. Let's try to break up the fight. Sam might not want to do anything, but I need to stop it. I stepped between the men and got them to separate, only using a few threats. Neither seemed all that interested in fighting once it came down to it. With that finally handed out, I tried to relax the bar with Sam until I was ready to call it a night. No, never mind. We're gonna... It's better. It was better what happened. We got more information. Time for bed. I got up and headed out to grab a coffee before work. Again, another day, refilled water tanks, took notes in inventory, same old, same old. Was over and had some time to kill. Library. I walked into the library and I was caught off guard by Gloria's presence. She smiled brightly when she saw me. Ashlyn! Oh, hi. Oh, Gloria. Hi. Hey, come over here. I want to show you something. You do? I followed after her as she led me towards the back of the library. Once there, she began to whisper. Distract Trevor for me. What? Go up there and talk to him for a bit. Then when I go up there, we gotta leave. What? Come on, it'll be funny. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what to do. I don't want to get on Trevor's bad side. I do want to know more about Gloria just because I'm generally nosy, but okay, let's save. Okay, I'm gonna say okay and see what happens. Alright. She smiled and shooed me away, so I walked back to the counter. I almost made it to Trevor when there was a loud crash. We both froze and Trevor swore and headed towards the noise. Brian was close behind him. Gloria appeared looking flushed. Trevor stopped to hire suspiciously. I think one of the wall displays were loose. I bumped into it and toppled right over. Trevor ignored her and Brian only shrugged as they left to take care of it. Gloria grabbed my arm and led me outside. That's what you wanted to do? No, my plan backfired. It's too bad. I was going to be so funny when you went to check the display later. She pouted and kicked at the ground. What are you going to do? Arrange the books to spell something out. She smiled at me. Don't ask what it would have said. You'll have to find out eventually when I can manage the prank again. I'll just use my imagination. See you around, Ashlyn. Okay, that's not that bad, so that's fine. Except now I was alone. I headed home feeling a little extra tired. I might just eat an apple and go to sleep. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Okay. Oh, a little bit with Gloria. I got up and headed out to grab coffee before work. Work was really dragging today. Brian was here for once and even being productive. Jude was running around like crazy. I think they were preparing for something, but I had no idea what. I tried to do what I needed to do and stay out of everyone's way. A lot of people were absent because of some illness that was going around. Even then, it wasn't like this place to be so chaotic. I mean, I guess they would have medicine harvested from the plants. My best guess was that there was something going on or about to happen. I just had no idea what, and no one was telling me. Work was over and I had some time to kill. I went to the library, so it's gym time. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the gym today. Picked up a few things I could do. Keep hanging out with Tabby. Tabby's off by herself again. Is there nothing for you to do? Why are you always here?
I'm not always here. Why are you always here?
I don't have an answer.
There aren't a lot of kids my age, so when Dad works, I either study stuff or hang out wherever. I like the gym. There's all the windows to see the plants.
Oh, the greenhouse?
Yeah.
So what do you study?
Mathematics and stuff. I'm not sure what career I want yet. I guess security officer would be cool.
Like your dad?
I think I'd rather work with the plants, though. I like food.
You could study botany or whatever. Plant stuff.
Like me. Can you take me to the greenhouse sometime?
Well, I didn't know if there were rules against it. Sure, I'll figure out a good time and sneak in, okay? Don't tell your dad, though. I don't want to get exiled.
Okay, I won't.
She smiled and I sat with her a bit longer to chat. She told me about all the different things she studied and all the jobs she was interested in. Nice. It's getting late and I'm tired. Time for bed. Okay. Still not quite friends with Tabby. Huh. Work. Just another day. Clearing up water and garlic beet. Put anything usable in compost. Same old, same old. Work was over. Icarus. As I walked in, I saw Jude sitting alone and toying with a rubber band. He didn't look too happy, and maybe he wanted to be left alone. See if he wants company. I headed over to see if he was in the mood to talk. He looked up at me when I walked over, but still seemed pretty annoyed. My steps slowed, and I started to turn away, but he waved me over. I'm in a bad mood. Why? He shrugged and nodded at the seat across from him. I hesitantly sat down. What do you miss about before? Before? Yeah, before we came down here. He sighed and I looked down at his hands. I guess you haven't been down here long enough to miss anything, huh? I miss looking up at the stars. Not that the metal ceilings aren't great or whatever. Jude tapped his rubber band and smiled up at me. I remember the stars. I'm going to show you something later. It's a surprise. How am I supposed to remind you then? He shrugged, but he was biting his lip to hide a smile. So what's bothering you? What's got you so tense? You don't suddenly miss the surface, do you? No, not the surface exactly. Just when things were simpler, I guess. I nodded and pretended I understood. He sighed and rested his chin in his hand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be such a downer. It's alright, I don't mind. I tried to make conversation, but he didn't seem to want to talk and only gave me 1 or 2 word responses. He did seem to enjoy my company and was sad when I had to leave. I mean, we both work in the same place. He should know that I gotta go to bed. Yeah. Wasn't any work to do today, so maybe try see somebody. He does owe me a surprise, so we'll try. I sat in my room, bored out of my mind, when there was a buzz at the door. I opened it and found Jude standing with some oily machinery. Quick, let me in. Just move. I moved aside to let him in. He shut the door behind him and relaxed against it. That was close. Sorry, I had to ditch some security officers and I hoped you lived here. Hoped? You didn't remember? What would you have done if I hadn't lived here? I smiled despite myself. What have you done? Just grabbed some stuff that was headed for the trash, or whatever. No big deal. Want to see? Okay, I guess I'm already in trouble for harboring a fugitive. Ha! Didn't see my face, so don't worry about it. He began to lay out the tech bits on the table and point them out to me. I don't know what that is, but I swear I've seen it before. That is a motor for a fan, and that is a heating coil. He continued to list things, but I was more focused on the greasy mess that he had made. The table. Oh, right. He began to pick the scrap back up and place it in a pack he had, then helped me wipe the table down. Wasn't sure I would have explained the mess to Mom. Sorry about that, and guess I didn't think. It's okay. It's clean now. So, why are you stealing the stuff? It's not stealing, it's salvaging. I rolled my eyes. Okay, but then why are you salvaging this stuff? It's good to have around, you know, in case something breaks. I suppose. Is your home full of this stuff? He smirked at me. I couldn't imagine finding a use for all this stuff, but I suppose he did. Maybe I'll let you come over sometime and see what I've managed to gather. He cracked the door open and glanced outside. Coast is clear, so I better get moving. Alright, I'll see you later, I guess. He only nodded and ducked back into the hallway. Should have told him to come by when he wasn't on the run. Maybe next time. Gotta be quicker than that, Ashlyn. Getting late and tired. Time for bed. Yeah. Groan from the bathroom woke me up. I leaned up and glanced around, trying to shake the fuzziness out of sleep. Mom? Another groan answered me. She was in the bathroom. I thought the bug had almost completely run its course through the community, but Mom must have gotten it last. I was starting to feel really thankful that I hadn't caught it. But you might now. You alright in there? The door cracked open just wide enough for Mom's hand to poke through and point at the table. Tell Rick I'm sick, please. I wrote him a note. Make sure he gets it, okay, honey? Sure, Mom, but maybe I should stay at home and... No, I'd rather you didn't. Just go and give Rick my note. She shut the door before I could argue. Obviously, she would hear me through the door, but I got the message. I grabbed the note. It was folded and taped, and my mother's handwriting graced the front. She had only written Rick, and it made me sigh. I wasn't sure I should be so openly casual. She should be so openly casual with the mayor, but I guess there was no stopping her now. I got dressed and grabbed the note and headed out the door. It was still early, so the hallways weren't too crowded. The note felt heavy in my hands, and it felt awkward walking around with it. What had my mind written down in it? It had to be boredom, but I felt very compelled to read it. Maybe it would give you some insight into what was going on between her and the mayor. It wasn't like it would seem strange for the letter to be sealed a little bit sloppily, especially if she was sick. We're gonna read it. Unless it makes Ashlyn, like, really sad. We'll probably keep it, but... I had to know. I glanced around, but no one was looking at me. I carefully peeled the tape and opened the letter. Camilla. Rick, I'm not feeling well. I'm so sorry, but I'll go to you as soon as I'm better. It's just that bug that's been going around. Her name was signed at the bottom. That was it. I resealed the letter and tried not to feel like an idiot. There'd been no reason to bother with it. When I got to the community center, the doors were open. I spotted the mayor up by the stage, so I headed over to hand him the note. Here, Mr. Mayor, from Mom. I handed him the note. He eyed the tape for a second before opening the letter to read it. Thank you, Ashlyn. Do you think your mother will mind if I come by too? I don't know if that's a good idea. She really isn't feeling well. Right, give her my, He cleared his throat. Let Camilla know that I hope she feels better soon, Ashlyn. I will. I backed up and walked back into the crowd. I ignored the few glances that were shot my way. After a few moments, he stood to address the community. I am happy to announce that the stomach bug that has been going around this week seems to have died down. Despite the discomfort, know that the worst is over and the illness was not dangerous. Steps have been taken to prevent this from happening again, and I must continue to ask that if you aren't feeling well, then please confine yourself to your quarters. This will help prevent the spread of it. He started to make some general announcements, but some people near the front started to speak up and shout. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but the mayor responded. Right, I know many of you are still concerned about what happened on the surface. When it is safe, I will send up couriers to gauge the situation. Until then, it is in Camden's best interest to carry on. The people at the front who had been shouting didn't look appeased, but the mayor assured them he would take them personally. I was curious about it, but at the same time I wanted to get out of here. I could check on Mom and then make myself scarce while she recovered. I had some time to do something before the day was over. What did I just do? I think I went to the gym? So I guess I go to Icarus? Hold on. How far back? Ashlyn, Mom, Ashlyn, Jude. That he just like popped in. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I went to... Whoop. So I guess the library time. I forgot that I did that in Icarus. Nothing particularly interesting was going on in the library today. There are a few things I could do. We're just gonna keep picking on Trevor. I walked in and saw Brian making Trevor laugh. I stumbled at the sight, knocking into a table and disturbing the display. They both looked over at me and Trevor's mirth died immediately. What do you want? I gave the table a careful tap and tried to put the display back as it had been. I failed. Trevor, she's probably here to borrow a book. Whatever. Get one and get out. I must imagine seeing Trevor amused. The scowl on his face seemed much more natural. Don't be so unfriendly. That's why no one but me ever comes here. Brian's voice was dripping with flirtation, and Trevor blushed and crossed his arms. I know it's developing. No, I'm gonna leave him alone. I rolled my eyes and decided to ignore Trevor. Just came for a book. We're gonna try some horror. I grabbed Zombie Homes and Giant Crabs to borrow and left. Actually, you know what? Now I'm getting... Hold on. Can I go back? No. Is there any way... No. Okay, fine. We'll just go back and do... Wait, what? Oh, it was just the same shit again? Oh, man. Like, nothing happened at work. I walked in and saw Jude on the other side of the windows. He was in the greenhouse. I approached him and tapped on the glass. He turned and gave me a small wave. I started to turn away, but he held up some blueberries in his hand, which immediately caught my attention. He chuckled. I couldn't hear it, but I could see the motion. He pointed to the side door, something that would normally be locked, and started to walk that way. I met him there. Here, don't tell. Well, anyone? I guess. It's not like Brian will notice or care. Wow, thanks. I popped the little berries in my mouth. They were juicy and sweet. Amazing. Throw all the contraband fruit at me you want. He smirked. I will if you pass me any tech you find. Deal. Jude smiled and gave me a friendly nod. Now you're an accomplice. Let's go. He ducked back behind the door and I went back to the gym. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Oh, it's happening. I walked into work and saw Jude. I waved, but then there was a commotion outside the door. I turned, but I couldn't tell what was going on. Then there was even more noise. I looked back at Jude. Maybe he would know what was going on. I took a step toward him, but someone busted through the entrance behind me and I froze. They were yelling. Step into the community center quick! Something crazy is going on! Jude set down the bundle he had been carrying and walked up to me. What is going on? No idea, but I guess we should check it out. Have you seen Brian? No, I just got here. Jude sighed and shook his head. He's probably still at the library with Trevor. I guess we'll see him there. We headed out among the many others. Whatever was going on must be a pretty big deal to draw out such a crowd. The crowd grew as more people began to come in, either to join the protest or watch. Everyone was shouting, with a few up on the stage. The speakers weren't turned on, but you could still hear what they were saying. The mayor is murdering those people. He can't take some in? Temporarily? What about the children and the elderly? He's practically killing them himself. The crowd cheered and shouted similar ideas. We all have family and friends out there, don't we? Is it okay for us to sit safe in here while all those people died? Most people began to speak up, either to agree or to argue. You're a fool! We don't have the food and resources to support so many people. What about our children? Would you have them go hungry? What if we let in Sandman spies? They should have been better prepared for the storm. How long has it been since you were on the surface? No one can prepare for that kind of storm and power outage. Arguments started to get heated and everyone was starting to get antsy. The room was rumbling with energy. The protesters wanted to open the doors, now, and help anyone who was left. They wanted to find their left-behind loved ones. They wanted news. A booming voice at the entrance caught everyone's attention. The mayor stepped forward. Everyone paused and fell quiet as he moved through the crowd. He simply walked and the crowd parted for him. His face wasn't readable. When he reached the stage, he grabbed a mic and the speaker suddenly sparked to life. I understand there has been unrest within Camden. It pains me to hear you fight like this. Are we no better than the lawless warlords that prey on the weak? Every choice I make for Camden. I've refused sending aid because we cannot spare it. I've refused to open the doors because we do not have the ability to support the consequences of that action. I must plead with you all, beg you, to trust me. Trust that I make no decisions without carefully considering how it will affect you, how it will affect our children, our loved ones, our lifeline. When you were accepted into Camden, each and every one of you became a part of my family. I will do what needs to be done. I always will so we can thrive together. He paused and glanced around the room. The energy seemed to settle, but I could still see some people weren't being so easily pacified. When the time is right, I will send couriers to assess the situation on the surface. Then if anything can be done without hurting Camden in the process, know that I will do it. Also, know that I will never do anything to put Camden in any danger. He took a deep breath and opened his arms wide to the crowd. I'm here now. If any of you wish to discuss the choices I have made, now is the time to approach me. He set down a mic and Vince moved to stand beside him on the stage. People were hesitant at first, but then either began to leave or line up. I decided to head back to work, though I wasn't sure if I could focus. I couldn't believe that the mayor had shut down the protests so easily. People were angry. They had lost loved ones and friends. The mayor was being so callous about it. It almost made me sick to my stomach, but still. Did he have a point? I don't know, dude. Like, without the information on actually how much we have, it's hard to know. But shouldn't she know because we have, like, the greenhouse? That's where the food is? I don't know. Let's save. And we'll stick to our guns. We could have sheltered people until the power station was running again. Door should have been opened. At the very least, we could have shared some supplies. I tried to shake the darker thoughts away and focus on what I needed to do. Now wasn't the time to get lost in my own mind. There was work to do. I returned with Jude, still no sign of Brian, though that wasn't unusual. He's probably still at the damn library. Jude began to pace wildly. He was starting to pick something up and then set it back down. I can't believe there was a protest. I've never seen anything like it. It's a waste of time. You think the mayor gave a shit? No. Besides, no one realizes how fucked things could get if the doors were open. Letting people in and sending what? Food? Do you know how delicate the balance is in the greenhouse? Because I do. I actually don't know. He covered his eyes. Fuck, Ashlyn. I'm so sorry, I shouldn't be yelling at you. It's okay, you're upset. I don't mind if you need to talk, or, yell. He moved his hands and looked at me. I've gotta get to work. That'll clear my head. Thanks for putting up with me, Ashlyn. I smiled and turned to head towards the CD player. I expect the greenhouse will be full of rough music any second now. I got back to work and tried to make up for Brian's absence as usual. It was getting late and I was tired. Time for bed. Yeah, saying that the mayor doesn't give a shit is one thing, and also saying we don't have food. I'm like, this is a weird time. So for now, we're gonna call it a day. It hasn't been that long, but it is late enough. And we can only do so much of this. Let's see if I can find, like, a place with music. There we go. Yeah. But that'll be it for now. Whoever's watching, thanks for keeping me company. We'll look at more of this next week. I don't know how long this game's supposed to be, but, you know, it's probably not that long, considering, like, we're getting pretty through it. But looking at... it's hard to gauge any kind of progression. Looking at the romance progression, it seems like there's so much longer to go, but it might be one of those things where it's like exponential growth, where it's like hard at first and then it just kind of gets faster as things get closer together. I don't know. I feel like you could also extend it by like playing the field too much. I know that usually playing the field in a visual novel means you're not going to get anybody. You're going to get some kind of weird bad ending, which sometimes I do that. I think when I'm playing by myself, I tend to pick like whatever, but on stream I kind of want to get like an actual ending, you know. The couple of times that I've played a game and I've gotten like a whatever ending, kind of feels like it sucks. Like with Persona 1, we didn't do the right choices and we got like a whatever ending. So I tend to avoid that, but we'll see. I don't know, maybe I'll run it on my own a little bit in between things and see what happens. But yeah, that was it. Thank you for coming and watching. Sonic Adventure 2 on Friday. Sonic Adventure 2 happening. More of this next week. But yeah, hopefully everybody has a great week for the rest of this week. Stay cool, stay frosty, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.